Now, once upon a time in professional wrestling, it used to matter what the fans thought.
For example, all you parents out there with kids, when your kids misbehave, you give the New Day a call. The New Day comes over to your house, and we will fight your children.
Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of wrestling sucks, but when it's good, it's fucking great. Wrestling is melodrama. Wrestling is mythology. Wrestling is action. Wrestling is comic books. The only thing wrestling isn't is wrestling.
Who wants to take back professional wrestling?
Welcome to Around the Ring, episode 107. I am one half of your host, the returning from the sun-drenched shores of Florida, Silky Dave Brown. I'm joined with, as always, by my great partner and good friend, our Floyd and Savior, Floyd Johnson Jr. How you doing, sir?
I am doing well, even better now that you're back. I am horrible at recording this stuff without you. You are definitely the leader of this group. I might talk more, but the execution of what we do every week is with you.
Well, thank you. I thought you guys did a great job in my
Oh my God,
absence.
so much background noise. I was like, how do you get rid of this? How does he do this?
That I don't know. I just I'm lucky because I just record and it turns out okay. So
yeah, I always make sure. Let me just say that that shout out to Jason. I'm gonna say this real quick. He pointed out to me that I say, let me just say this quite a bit, and it has annoyed me. I don't know if you watch How I Met Your Mother ever. There was this episode on Breaking the Glass.
Yes, I love that show.
He broke the glass on me, and I was so mad at him. I was like, I hate you. You should have just let me do it forever and made fun of me, and I would have been A-okay with it. I would have been fine. But every time I say it, I hear it now, and it's very annoying. I hate him for it. But yeah, I usually record in very, very quiet places. I do have the gift and curse of not having children and being in the house on Sundays most of the time alone, so I am able to record without background noise. Other people have lives, so unfortunately, that's what happened last week. Hey,
that's okay. It was still good. You guys did a good job. So I appreciate you keeping this thing going while I was gone. And so some stuff happened, and most of which I have not been able to keep up with because, vacation. But yeah, we had some really cool topics we wanted to get into this week. Now, do we want to talk about the shows as they were first, or do we want to jump into some of these other things first?
We're going to go with the shows first because our loyal listener, Ryan Aaron, likes our format.
Oh, he gets pissed when we go off book.
Yeah. So we want to definitely stick with the format. Let me ask, I know you've been on vacation. Have you seen any good TV or any bad movies? Because I was fascinated by the fact that we had such a polarizing reaction to a movie we saw. So I know you posted a review on Twitter, but just a small. What did you think of Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets?
That movie sucked so bad. It was one of the most awful things I've ever sat through. In fact, it was probably the worst movie I've ever seen in a theater. It was so bad. I just kept watching it, and Dane DeHaan's acting was so atrociously awful. It was almost like you could tell he knew that this sucked. Now, to be fair, I did find out because I've started a comic book related podcast, and I did a review of it on there. And to be fair, I did a little bit of research on the movie, and it was written and directed and produced basically by this dude from France. So I'm guessing English probably isn't his first language.
Luc Besson, yeah, yes. He does a really good job in movies when he does movies.
Yeah, and here's the thing: for the most part, it looked amazing. There were a few really wonky spots with some CGI, but it was like background CGI where you could tell people were in front of green screens. The CGI characters, all the aliens looked amazing. It was beautifully shot. Dane DeHaan was awful. It was like he was trying his hardest to be Keanu Reeves. And Keanu Reeves, bless his heart, is great, but he's not a good actor. He does a few things really, really well. He was excellent in the first Matrix movie. He was excellent in Point Break. He was excellent in Parenthood, and he was excellent in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. And if you notice, you look at the four of these, there's not a huge range in what the dude can do. He's just kind of him. And so Dane DeHaan is this whole time, he's trying to do this, I'm being like Keanu Reeves, I'm trying to be like the Matrix, and I'm trying to be cocky and arrogant. And, you know, he walks around like he's a badass, and then he has his shirt off, and he's a good-looking dude. Don't get me wrong. He's a good-looking guy. I would kill to have his physique. But I'm like, you do not have the physique for that kind of arrogance, sir. And so, yeah, he was so awful. And what was sad is he was pretty good in Amazing Spider-Man 2, which is not a good movie. It's not a terrible movie, but it's not a good movie. And I was like, okay, he might be okay. So fucking awful. So awful. And then you got Cara Delevingne, whatever the fuck her name is, who was good in Paper Towns, and was pretty awful in Suicide Squad. Especially her dancing, twitching, undulation thing that happened when she was Enchantress. That was terrible. But this movie blew. I mean, there were moments I was just sitting there and I was like, oh my god, it's so bad. But the best part, so spoilers, there's a moment at the very end where Dane DeHaan's character, who is named Valerian, is having to decide something, this moral dilemma. Does he do what his soldier stuff tells him to do and follow the rules, or does he side with these people who've obviously been screwed? And there's this really long, drawn-out moment where he's trying to decide. And we were with my mom's neighbor, Maria, and she's from Puerto Rico? She's Hispanic, and she is a character and a half. And she is loud and she is boisterous, and she has a tendency to talk during movies. And everything's real quiet in this scene. And she just out of the middle of nowhere goes, "Oh, hurry up!" And everyone in the theater starts laughing because we were all thinking the same thing. It was so fucking awful. So bad. I mean, I don't think it's like Manos the Hands of Fate bad. But this is something I really hope Search for the Worst on YouTube. I hope the I Hate Everything channel does this as a Search for the Worst episode. And it's also something that if Mystery Science Theater 3000 could get their hands on it, I think would be pretty incredible. But now that I've ranted, you actually enjoyed this movie. Yes.
There's a point that's probably made Dave question everything about my taste. I actually enjoyed it. And I asked Dave this question. I asked him, had he read the source material, the graphic novel? He, of course, said no. I went into this movie. My friend Cassie told me, hey, you'll like it. I went into it. It was colorful. It was fun. It was not serious. And it was just a straightforward type of, you knew the good guy in the back, you knew the good guy was going to win type of movie. I enjoyed the dialogue of it. I laughed a little bit. The Rihanna character was pretty funny to me, and it was just it was a cool popcorn movie. I enjoyed it. Thought it was a really good movie. Like I said, I never was bored. I never checked my watch. That's a big thing with movies for me. If I checked my watch, the director, writer, he's done all the Takens. He did The Professional. He did The Fifth Element. I'm just kind of looking at his film review, so he knows how to make American movies, successful American movies. So I did, like I said, I just found it as a great mindless movie to watch at 11 o'clock in the morning on a Monday.
I can see that. So from that standpoint, I can see that. It's just,
it's like some movies. Some movies to me, I think a reason I like a lot of the movies I see is I go in with the expectation, right? I didn't go in with this movie expecting my mind to be blown by plot. I just thought it was just going to be, hey, the guy's name is Valerian. He's probably going to win. Man, he did. And Dane DeHaan, to me, his acting isn't so bad that it takes me out of the movie, but I'm not a big judge of acting. I've sat through local plays. I've sat through all sorts of things. So and I watch wrestling. So that's bad acting, and soap operas. That's what I grew up on. So the level of acting has to be pretty bad for it to take me out.
Yeah, I watched Days of Our Lives for probably 15 years, and Dane DeHaan's acting on this was worse than a lot of what I saw in Days of Our Lives.
Hey, and you know what? Everybody has the right to their opinion. Like I said, if somebody's like, hey, what would you give it out of 10? I would have gave it a 5 or a 6. You know, I mean, it was a movie, you know. Don't go in expecting, to me, I would have said, don't go in expecting to have your mind blown. Just, you know, that kind of thing. But with you, you know, you're very much more critical than I am, which is good, which is great, because you need that in any friendship or any type of relationship. You need someone that has more of a critical eye. So yeah, I honestly, it made me question whether I actually, not whether I liked it, because like and dislike is very simple put. It's kind of black or white. Did you watch it, or did you watch it and enjoy it, or you didn't? But it made me question, did I miss some of the bad or stuff? Because he didn't, you know, with him being a character, I just thought he was kind of playing the character as, you know, written, you know, and I'm like, I don't know.
I can see that. The writing was pretty bad. It was just, but I mean, I can see if you, and I went into it with no expectations. In fact, everything I heard about it was that it sucked. So it was.
See, and it's funny how maybe I'm not saying how maybe someone's review of it may affect what you saw, because the only thing I ever heard was from my friend Cassie, because I don't read reviews. I really don't. Only thing I ever heard from my friend Cassie, it was good, you'll like it. Then I went in, it was good, and I liked it. The only thing you heard is how shitty it was. You went in, and you agreed with that.
Yeah, well, and I did not actually read any reviews. I just, as we were discussing the possibility of going to it, because the kids really didn't want to go see it, but they were also kind of bored. So they went with us, and my son Nolan kept saying how much he just kept hearing that it was bad. So, but yeah, we'll see. I mean, it was.
I would say I don't think it's made any money.
Oh no, it was a super bomb.
Totally I don't think it's made any money. I tend to like things that other people don't like. I can say this about today, this morning. I have been having a few acid reflux issues, so I was up at 2 o'clock this morning, and I was watching HBO, and I watched a movie called Collateral Damage, right?
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
Collateral Beauty. No, excuse me, not Collateral Damage, Collateral Beauty. It's a Will Smith movie, and I remember last year, or when it came out last year, people was like it was trying too hard, and I'm watching it at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm awake, and I never plan to watch this movie. Since Will Smith was in Concussion, I have not been the biggest Will Smith fan ever.
Oh, you don't like Concussion? I've heard nothing but good things about Concussion.
I will never watch Concussion.
Why?
You want to be a 300-pound man running yourself into other 300-pound men that don't think you're going to have some physical problems in your life. You're kind of an idiot, and I'm not a big fan on that whole thing. The whole stuff. You're coming after my league. So no. So I will never watch Concussion. I was kind of annoyed at Will Smith for doing Concussion. Actually, it's just one of those things. I went and saw this movie, and the cast is amazing. It has Ed Norton, Kate Winslet, Helen Mirren, Will Smith. So it's, of course, great cast. And it's a movie, but it definitely comes off like a play. because it is so dialogue driven, so scene driven, with the big budget Hollywood type of money behind everything, and it was just such a beautiful film. And I don't use that term very often. I don't consider myself pretentious at all. So when I say it's a beautiful film, it made you think, and it just made you contemplate life a little bit. And at 2:00 on a Sunday morning, not much you can do. And generally, I only get those reactions from movies from people that are high. And it was just one of those movies that it was just really good. It was, I even posted on Facebook. It was just an amazing movie. Everyone should watch it. But again, if you don't like dialogue-driven movies, like straight, the movie's talking, there's no action, there's no big scenes. I mean, if you want to call it, the big scene is a revelation, basically. So you really have to care what the people are saying. Otherwise, no point to watch the movie.
Yeah, we have that at work. It's in our DVD collection, and it checks out pretty regularly. So I'll have to give it a shot sometime. Yeah,
like toward to the end. I mean, I'm serious, and this rarely happens. It's actually happened more as I gotten older. I guess the testosterone was lowering, but I cried a couple times during the movie. It just pointed out. It made you think about life. I mean, and it's one of those things. I know we live in a world of cell phones and computers. It's so dialogue driven. It's 2:00. 2:00 in the morning, not much to look at online. So I was actually looking at the movie, and halfway through the movie, I put my phone down and just paid attention to everything that was saying. And that's a powerful thing when I'm at home, because you can ask anyone that knows me. My phone's in my hand pretty much 24/7.
Well, good. I will have to check that out. But yeah. So you want to talk about what happened in this week in wrestling?
Yeah, let's talk about some wrestling. Hey, Ryan, we occasionally start off with stuff other than that. So we're going to talk. Oh, I do have to ask one more thing. How was your trip?
It was great. We had a lot of fun. My folks live down on the southwestern part of the state in a town called Cape Coral, which is in the same area as Fort Myers, and they live on a canal, and it's ridiculously beautiful. And yeah, we had a good time. I felt kind of, I wouldn't say go so far as to say proud of myself, but every morning, except for a couple of days, I got up, I took about a little over 2 mile long walk, and then I would swim laps in their pool. So I'm trying to not be a fat ass, and so I thought that was I figured, I don't have access to pools on a regular basis, so I'm going to take advantage of this, and that was fun. We went to the beach a couple times, which both times I got injured a little. The first time I was wearing these ridiculously cheap-ass flip-flops that we got at like a CVS or something last year. And first of all, I hate flip-flops. I truly don't get flip-flops with jeans. I don't get this fashion statement. I don't get the point, especially in Oklahoma, for fuck's sake. Walking around in jeans on and flip-flops. Really? I mean, you're not near the beach. I'll forgive you if you were in shorts in a beach community. That's fitting. But, Oklahoma, really, guys? Really? Anyway, so the part at the bottom of the flip-flop where it attaches to the part that flops on the bottom of your foot, the bottom part, the sole, that somehow, I don't know if it was loose or something, but it rubbed my toe, not my big toe, but the other toe, so completely raw. I had this big open, basically cut, sore thing. That sucked. It hurt so bad. So 2 days later, we're like, okay, we'll go back to the beach. And the day we went, at one point, my dad and I had to walk over through the parking lot something, and I did it barefoot, and it was fine. So I figured, you know what? I'll just wear shoes, leave them in the car, and just walk out to the beach barefoot. Yeah, that was a really dumb decision. So get out of the car, take off my shoes, and it's hot. And then there is this path that is sand out to the beach, and that's real fucking hot. and I mean it hurt so bad. And I was, so many variations of the F word were coming out of my mouth. I mean, I was getting so creative. It was really interesting. And I get out to a beach, find the spot, and I go put my feet in the water. And then when we left, my dad was like, "Oh, I saw a place just right over on the path where you can rinse off your feet." I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll go do that." And so again, barefoot, walking over there. It wasn't there. There wasn't one. So I finally got in the shade and put my shoes on, and then we got cleaned up and left, and got home. It hurt to walk. I had big-ass burns on my feet, to the point where, have you ever gotten burned and, like, you can tell the top layer of skin has kind of gotten loose from everything else, from the underlayers, and kind of moves around on its own, and you can look at it, you're like, yep, that's probably going to die and slough off soon. It was like that. But we went to CVS and got these burn, like, gel pads. So if you ever get burned, folks, go to CVS, ask for the burn gel pad things that you put on your skin. Did that for 2 days, and my feet were fine. But yeah, that sucked. So we ended up not going back to the beach. Not because of that. We were going to go one day, and then we got rained on. And then the last night we were there, we went on a boat trip to look at dolphins during sunset. That was pretty cool. Except I really learned that I kind of hate boats. Yeah, I kind of was freaking out a little bit. I don't like boats. I don't like the idea of being out in the water, in a boat, away from land. Maybe I've read too many books about scary shit in the ocean. But yeah, but it was fun. We saw some dolphins. They jumped out of the ocean, and yeah, that was cool. That actually ended up being a lot of fun. But overall, it was a great time. It was nice seeing my folks. Getting away, doing something different for a while. We had one night, just for the hell of it, we made a Thanksgiving dinner spread. Like, we got a turkey, big old turkey. We made it. We made stuffing, and we've always made, one of my favorite memories as a kid is the way my mom would make stuffing. So she'd get the bag of Pepperidge Farm stuffing mix, and then chop up onions and celery and put it in there, and get it mixed to just the right smell, and then you put in some hot water and an egg, and you mix it up. And I love stuffing, but what I love more than stuffing is raw stuffing. And I had some, and it was like I was 5 years old again. And they have a picture of me at 5 on the fridge when I was helping make stuffing one Thanksgiving. And I haven't had that stuff in probably 15 to 20 years. And holy Moses, did it taste good. And it took me right back. So that was fun. So yeah, long answer to your short question. It was fun. We had a great time.
Oh man, and that's amazing to hear. I love going on vacation. I love vacation so much. I love when other people go on vacation. I know how people get so annoyed when they see other people's vacation pics because they get jealous. No, when I see other people's vacation pics, I am so happy that you get to get away from the dog eat dog world and the grind of every day. Because to me, it's like, I know I don't want every day to be vacation because that's how you enjoy it, but it's just like, I just know that getting up every morning, the 8 to 5, whatever your schedule is, it can get to you. So it's good to not have to get up, to not have to be anywhere for a few days. It's awesome. I do it a few times a year, so I'm really happy that you enjoyed your good time.
Oh, yeah, thank you. It was a lot of fun. We really enjoyed it. So.
And one last milestone before we get to wrestling. I promise we're going to wrestling in the next couple minutes. Congratulations on going over a year without drinking soda. If you happen to be friends with Dave on Facebook or anything, you will know he's been doing a countdown since the day he quit drinking soda for, health reasons. Trying not to be a fat guy, as he said. And congratulations on making it over a year.
Oh, thank you.
He inspired me earlier this year to give it a chance. I made it to WrestleMania. I had my first soda I made it from the new year till WrestleMania, which I thought was good. I never planned on making it over a year like Dave. I enjoy Mountain Dew too much, and most of my trips I drive, so it's a great source of a way to stay awake when driving long distances. But congratulations to you. It's good that you made a decision, and you've been able to stick with it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's been nice. I don't miss soda at all. I've had a couple of dreams at times where I've had a soda and then I freaked out. It's like, oh no, my streak is over. So I just thought that was kind of funny. I dreamed about having soda and it ruining everything. But yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate it.
What was your favorite soda when you drank it?
Coca-Cola, without a doubt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I grew up on. I remember the new Coke fiasco and the return of Coca-Cola Classic, and yeah, Coke. In fact, I love lists, so I listed off my top 5 favorite sodas. Coca-Cola was number 1, RC was number 2, Sam's Cola was number 3 because it's basically RC. Pepsi was number 4, and if I have to pick a 5, it would probably be Dr. Pepper. Though I don't really enjoy Dr. Pepper, I can drink it. Because if you hold your breath when you drink Dr. Pepper, you really think it's Coke until you then breathe and you get that prune juice taste, even though it's not prune juice, it tastes like prune juice. You get that aftertaste. So
yeah.
Way too much thought.
I don't generally hold my breath when I drink, so that's a thing. Yeah, Coke, RC Cola, Sam. I hate colas. I guess Dr. Pepper is a cola, but Pepsi. I mean, if I had to do a list like you, Mountain Dew would be 1. Mountain Dew Code Red would be 1. Regular Mountain Dew would be 2. 3 would be Dr. Pepper. 4 would be Pepsi Vanilla or Vanilla Pepsi, and 5 would be probably at that point root beer.
See, and I'm like the opposite with fizzy drinks. It has to be a cola. I cannot do fruit flavored fizzy drinks. It freaks me the fuck out. There's just something unnatural about lemon lime and then soda water together. It just wigs me out to no end. I can't do it.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing you're not African American, because that's pretty much what we grew up on. Because who loves orange soda? Kel loves orange soda. I mean, there's a whole song about it. Yeah, so.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
orange soda is disgusting.
Huh?
Orange soda is disgusting.
Like I said, the fact that you're white, it works out for you in that case, because you would get kicked out of the black community for saying that. We love fruit flavored sodas, damn it. And there is no shame in it. I mean, I had my brother. My brother has said this. He doesn't drink water. He can't drink Coke. He can't drink Pepsi. And I'll be like, why can't you do this? And this is probably the most stereotypically black thing he's ever said. I need something with some flavor.
Wait, Coke has flavor.
Coke is a flavor. Pepsi is a flavor.
Yeah.
No, my brother said I need something with flavor. What he means is cherry, lime, like that.
Okay.
That kind of flavor. That's why I said it is the most stereotypical black thing he's ever said in his life, because he basically names flavors, but says he needs something with some flavor. By that, he meant fruit flavor.
That's hysterical. And you know what? I'm sorry, but water has flavor. Water is delicious, and I enjoy it very much.
I do. I mean, water's water. I don't think it has flavor. When people say they prefer Fiji or Smart Water or blah blah to other waters, I don't get it. Water tastes like water to me, except when you try to drink it from a tap. Yeah. That we do not clean our water that well in Oklahoma, so.
Though, Oklahoma water tastes 1,000 times better than Florida water.
Well, let me just say this. I don't know, because I haven't I don't drink tap water very often. I do apple cider vinegar every morning, and I put a little tap water in there to dilute it, but it tastes like apple cider vinegar. So, I don't even know. I couldn't even tell you the last time I had tap water. Even when I travel, I take an ice chest, and it's filled with bottled water, because I don't drink tap water.
There you go. Now, as we have totally thrilled our 4 listeners with a half an hour of talk about bad movies, water, and not drinking soda.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? I hope people bear with me. Dave got back. And like I said, we really only talk on this show. So I was going to catch up. And I'm not apologizing for that.
I actually, one thing I thoroughly enjoy when podcasts go off on tangents. An example, the guys on Voices of Wrestling do this a lot, and on the most recent episode, they had this whole tangent about the death of Coke Zero, and it was hysterical. And I love that stuff. So I've always enjoyed when shows that are normally on one topic go off on tangents about something else. It's nice to get, an idea of more what the hosts are like as people and hearing their thoughts on other subjects, because just because we do a show about wrestling doesn't mean we don't love other things. So I enjoy it. So, yeah. So sorry, folks, for the non-wrestling talk.
It's the Dave talk, and I've missed the crap out of Dave. So whatever.
Aw, thanks, man. I'm feeling love. So Monday Night Raw, what'd you think?
Oh, Monday Night Raw. Okay. From what I understand, I found this out recently, and it's probably something that all the wrestling fans do. I'm surprised somehow it's what slipped in my mind, is that Raw and SmackDown traded writing staffs at the last Superstar Shakeup. So I've realized, I've like the last month or so, I felt like Raw's really captured its legs and has been good, especially with the opening. Another not miss this time. I find the third hour sucks, and I found a reason why that week is that third rating. No matter what they do in the third hour, apparently ratings suck in the third hour, right? So they've done a really good job of making 7 to 9 their most important show, and they don't really even care about the main event that much because they don't get a lot of third hour ratings. So this week, I gave the Raw a solid B. I'm not gonna say I was over the moon by it, but I was entertained about it the whole time. The tag team division's really, really getting a kick. Women's division pretty much got nothing in this show. Nothing. And but I really enjoyed it. You did not watch it, right?
I did not. I heard there was a big old brawl thing or match between Strowman, Joe, and Reigns, but yeah, I didn't see any of Raw.
Yeah, we got a non-advertised appearance by Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman, and Paul Heyman does what Paul Heyman does so well. I mean, good Lord, he can talk. I mean, this man could take a promo about James Ellsworth and Barry Horowitz and make you think it's the greatest match ever. Now, you're taking that, and now you're giving Brock Lesnar, and you're giving the three behemoths that he's wrestling against, and you take that and you give him that amazing material, and he went off. And he dropped the bombshell that the WWE is just trying to get the belt off of Brock Lesnar. And if Brock Lesnar loses this fatal 4-way match, he will leave the WWE. And, of course, Brock has a limited amount of dates. So let's say he does lose it. It's a great way to take him off TV for a while. And maybe to the Royal Rumble. And let the other characters develop a little bit more, and but with this, he just did it in such a way that I was like, wow. But then he, of course, he wants you to know Brock Lesnar is not going to lose, but he said if he does lose, he's out, and that was a pretty good. It was a pretty powerful promo. And I just thought that really just sets the ring and sets it for the show. It's like I get to work, and on Mondays I have to start work at 7, and it's just like, just give me 20 minutes to leave me alone, because that's how good the openings of Raw is.
Wow, that sounds, I kind of wish I'd seen that.
Yeah. So we start with that. They've really done a good job of doing the tag team division, and it's kind of funny. The tag team division right now is 4 teams, 3 of them which would be considered heel tag teams, and the Hardys. So that's kind of an interesting dynamic. But they've done it a good job of just saying every one of the teams wants to be the best. But, okay, so you have these 4 solid tag teams. It looks like what they're setting up is going to be Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose versus Sheamus and Cesaro, because they had Seth Rollins have a beef in the back with Cesaro, and Seth Rollins fought Sheamus in a match, and of course Rollins gets the win with some type of roll-up. I don't think he actually hit a finishing move to win. Cesaro and Sheamus beat the crap out of him. They beat him up so bad that Dean Ambrose reluctantly comes down to the ring to make the save, but all he does is just get beat up too. And then Dean and Seth have this conversation in the back where basically Dean says, I know why you did that. That Seth was basically trying to manipulate him by getting beat up on purpose, so Dean looks like a D-bag for not running out. I thought it was a great take. I was like, that was some good writing there. In a world where I feel like everything is overwritten in the WWE, I thought if Dean didn't come off that on the top of his head and someone wrote that, I thought that was a great take to make. Because, I mean, truly, let's say a guy's asking you to be friends, and then he gets to this point where he really, really needs help. He's been apologetic and everything, and you don't help him, you look like the dick at that point. And the fact that he pointed out that's what Seth was doing was pretty good. We had a point where Bray's in the ring and Finn's music hits and he goes dun dun dun, and I was like, when this light comes on, we're gonna have Finn straight demoned out. Nothing. It was just regular old Finn. I mean, he attacks him and he looks good attacking him, looks really aggressive attacking him, but nothing. Not the demon. I know we're going to get the Demon at SummerSlam. I'm 110% sure of that. But it's just it's funny. You bring Finn back, right? And the thing he's most known for is being the Demon, and you have not given anyone the Demon. And you're trying to make it this big thing, but it's just to me, you need to remind fans of who he is. Because who he is not Finn Balor in the leather jacket coming down to the ring. That person's over, but Finn Balor in the paint, oh my God, he is over.
Yeah, I'm actually okay with them leaving the painted up Balor away, not bringing him out, because that is something I think that should be saved for special occasions. Like when they had him wear the paint on that match on Raw before SummerSlam last year, I thought that was stupid. No, you definitely, have him wear it at SummerSlam, but the paint should come out. I mean, maybe this would have been a good point because of who he's facing. The paint needs to come out either on big events or for specific reasons. Like when he had that debut match. When was the first time he brought out the paint on NXT? Was it in that match against the Ascension, or when he tagged with Hitami? I can't remember, but the first time he brought it out, it was a big deal. I mean, and everyone knows it's coming. My hope is when they do finally, paint him up again, is we get to see some more of the creativity that he had in New Japan. Now, granted, he didn't have to worry about as many copyright issues in Japan, and I'm not expecting him to be, like Venom or something, but he's essentially had the same painting pretty much his entire run in NXT and WWE, and I'd like to see something a little different, something new. Maybe even something that is kind of goes toward whoever he's fighting. So something Bray-esque about his paint at SummerSlam would be a cool touch. Basically, that the paint should be used to strike fear into the heart of his opponents. And how do you do that? You take something of theirs and you put it on you. So that's something I would like to see.
I disagree because he's a vanilla midget without it.
Yeah, he is a vanilla, short, gorgeous man.
I'm just saying, to me, without the paint, there's not a lot of difference between him and them.
Yeah, well, even with the paint, there's not much difference in the ring, bell to bell, with him with paint and without paint.
No, but it just brings you in more. It just makes you focus on him more. And like I said, I mean, it's like if Sting just came out as Steve Borden, you wouldn't care. You know, the face paint makes him Sting. The face paint takes him from the boring ass, we have not been able to capture your essence as a wrestler in the WWE, Finn Balor, versus the Demon coming out. You know what I'm saying? That's what he's, this mythical character. I can see him being tougher because he's got the Demon paint on, as opposed to when he's not in the Demon. It just seems like, and he has said this, he's more charismatic when he's in the Demon paint than when he's normal. He has said that statement, and I find it to be 100% true.
Yeah, the problem is he needs a good heel run, because he was, from all accounts, from everything I've seen, when he was a heel Finn Balor running the Bullet Club, he was a badass, and he needs that kind of run in WWE at some point. They need to team him with Gallows and Anderson, because those guys are going nowhere, and they need to run roughshod over everyone. So that is something I would like to see. But yeah, and then, I mean, he could do the Demon thing and just be demonic about it. But the thing I don't want to hear is, I don't want to hear Corey Graves, who I love as a broadcaster, and Michael Cole say the Demon King, the Demon King, the Demon King, over and over and over again, like they did going into that match with Seth Rollins last year. So don't need that.
But he's the Demon King.
Oh God, shut up. That was so stupid. The Demon King.
Well, you know, and I mean, they pointed out on their own show that they asked if the announcer team, are there words that you can't say, are there words that you are known to say or are told to say more, and to get a point across. And you know, of course, JBL and Corey Graves did this great job of going around a question like, we are strongly suggested to use certain terms, but we're not on a leash. We can say whatever we want. But there are terms they'd rather us use than others. Then they pointed out the Punjabi prison match, and there was a countdown. And honestly, if you want to watch this, Bring It to the Table from this week, they did one after Raw. It was the best episode of Bring It to the Table. It was the one time I thought Peter Rosenberg was truly the voice of the fans. It was like they got notes, because he was really challenging JBL and Corey on things, and JBL wasn't just attacking him. I mean, it was like, to me, that was the one way that I took Peter Rosenberg as the voice of the fans, because JBL was attacking him like he does fans. But this episode was really good. Peter Rosenberg felt like he was stepped up to his game a little bit, and he asked about that, and then JBL's like, no, we don't do that. And then they pulled out the Punjabi prison match. He said structure 68 times. The announce team said structure 68 times. And he played it, and he got to like 30. JBL was like, stop. He's like, I didn't, because they had overused the word. And it was funny, because you know who called it out? Corey. He called it out on Twitter. He's like, man, this structure. He's like, they really want you to know about this structure, because they said it 68 times. So, yeah. So to me, it was a really good episode. And they did a really, really good job of, like I said, he really did a good job of being the voice of the fans. So, but yeah, it gets through. I forgot my original point, but when you get like things like Demon King, yeah, that's what I was talking about. Things like Demon King gets to the point where it's like, yeah, they're told to really drive home that point. And to Vince, from what I understand, like I said, everything I know about Vince McMahon is fourth hand at best. So, so when you say, from what I understand about Vince, is that, when he has a thought and he wants to drive it home, he doesn't care how many times you say it, because he feels like the fans learn by repetition. Because you might not have heard it that first time. You might have been on your phone or doing something else, but you might only heard it that 61st through 68th time, but he really wants you to drive it home.
So this begs the question, does Vince McMahon think his fans are stupid?
I mean, honestly, the intelligence level over my time of life, the wrestling fan has gotten a lot smarter, right?
Right.
Vince McMahon is completely, I mean, he is so separate and so distant from a normal person, right? From a fan. You know, he hasn't been a fan in a long time. So he's probably, a lot of his advertising and a lot of what he does is basically to what he knew as the fan in the 80s. But now you have doctors, you got IT people, you have a librarian, you have college professors, as we had last week. You have a lot of smarter people that watch the wrestling program, but it hasn't really adjusted to me to the times in certain areas. But with the repetition, honestly, to the social media area, it might actually, saying stuff over and over again might work, because a lot of people watch TV or watch wrestling with a cell phone in their hand. So as much as they're watching wrestling, they're kind of listening to it, doing other things. Saying something 68 times, you're going to hear it at least a few.
Yeah, to me that's overkill, though. It's one thing to repeat something, a handful of times in one match, in one, which was my understanding, a horrifically long and boring match. To repeat a phrase 68 times is asinine. That's just, and that's Vince screaming in their ear, say structure, say structure.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I would not wish that job. I couldn't do it, man. And it's so funny. You compare the commentary when people aren't being screamed at versus the times that they are. Basically, Beast in the East versus Monday Night Raw. And you're like, oh my God, how is this Michael Cole the same person? Or, the UK tournament versus Monday Night Raw. And there's just this drastic difference. Did you have any other thoughts from Raw? Any other big things?
Let's see. They did finally give Roman his clean victory over Samoa Joe, which, was going to happen eventually. So that was kind of, everyone knew that was coming. So they gave him, he ate the spear. And apparently Joe is the only big man in the WWE that can't kick out of finishers. Because, Brock Lesnar hit him with one F5. He didn't kick out. Roman hits him with one spear. He didn't kick out. I think Braun took like 3 spears in the match. Same thing with Brock Lesnar. All of them can take everyone else's finisher, except Joe. Apparently he's the normal guy.
Yeah, I don't like that. But I don't think that they have. I don't think Vince has a lot of confidence in Joe. I think a lot of other people, and Triple H does, I think a lot of the people back there, Paul Heyman apparently is petitioning for Joe to win the title at SummerSlam. Everyone else but probably Vince and Kevin Dunn see that Samoa Joe is something extremely special and see what they have there with him and that he's money. And they're like, well, he's not tall, he's ugly, he's fat. And yeah, they've got their own preferences and whatnot, and so yeah,
it makes me want to do another top 5. It'll be similar to another one, but we would stick to the WWE area, like the top 5 legitimate badasses of the WWE. And I mean, personally, I would put Joe at probably 2 or 3. I mean, you can't go more legitimate than Brock Lesnar, but that being said, it's just, I mean, I would think about it, of course, and get a better answers, but it's just, he is the legit badass on the show. If you're like, who is the one guy that can put on a good match with anybody on either roster? And that's Samoa Joe.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's not so big to where it's not believable when Seth Rollins beats him. But he's not so small, but it's not believable when he fights Braun Strowman. He's in that perfect in-between area.
And just an impromptu real quick, when you said that, I can give you 3 off the top of my head, the 3 biggest badasses that people that I would think of who would legitimately, in real life, shoot, fighting, whip your ass. Number 1, Brock Lesnar. Number 2, Samoa Joe. And number 3, Asuka.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Yeah, and it's just, It's just they're just intimidating. They're physical people, and it's funny. And it's funny when they beat people up. We had an injury on Raw. Bayley, when she was wrestling with Nia Jax, there was a spot where Nia threw her into the ring, threw her into the protective guardrail on the outside, and it looks like it might have hurt her shoulder. They showed her not being able to lift her shoulder. They've been playing it up all week. I don't know if it's a work. I don't know if it's real. They got a lot of shout-outs on Twitter, so I'm thinking it's real. So speedy recovery to Bayley. Hopefully she can make it to SummerSlam. She does a lot of big things in Brooklyn, if you didn't know that. And like I said, I honestly have not watched it back to say, hey, it's Nia's fault, hey, it's Bayley's fault. Because what happens is, whenever I've seen this injury on a guardrail, it's generally on the person throwing them. As in, they throw them so close to the guardrail that they don't have time to take it as a bump.
Yeah.
It's just you just throw their shoulder into the guardrail because they're too close. It's an accident, but it's a common one enough so I know exactly when it happens and whose fault it is. But sometimes you get enough space and you either miss time taking the bump or something like that, and then the more it's on the person taking the bump. So like I said, I did not see it. I saw it, but I didn't watch it back to see what happened.
Wait, so you're telling me that there's danger in getting hurtled into a semi-protected metal barrier? That there's a possibility of walking away with injury? Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was gonna say, and that is why it was so weird to me when Seth Rollins was doing his that powerbomb toss that he does into the guardrail, because you don't see what you're hitting. So it's all based on you taking the bump right. And I just felt like in that particular case, not a lot of cases, I'm not a big fan of overprotecting wrestlers, but in that case, it just seemed like you were waiting for something to get hurt. And to do it multiple times a match, it just seems like you were pressing your luck every time.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah,
well,
but and then the main event was the painful main event: Big Cass versus Big Show, the Battle of the Bigs, and it was not Braun Strowman versus the Big Show. It was boring. And the thing about Big Cass, I've been very open about this. You have to give this man time. He has been working pretty much exclusively as a tag team for years. He is now on a singles path. He has to be given time to develop. He has to be given time to find his identity as a person. First of all, I don't like the name Big Cass. I think it should just be Cass. I mean, he's 7 foot tall. You do not have to tell people he's big.
Yeah, agreed. Actually, I would go back to Colin Cassidy.
I'm good with Colin Cassidy. But if you're just going to stick with the one name, it should just be Cass. Why do you have to be Big Cass? Everyone knows this man is big. You can look at him, and he's taller, and he's bigger than everybody else. So why can't he just be Cass? Big Cass was the guy with Enzo. Colin Cassidy should be the guy that's on his own.
Agreed. Yeah, because then the whole Big Cass thing came from the shtick that they did.
Yeah.
Because that's what Enzo called him. So, yeah, he should not be Big Cass anymore. Hell, I'm not even a fan of the name Big Show. I thought that was a stupid-ass name.
Vince is petty. And I've always heard the rumor the Big Show was because he wanted his initials to be TBS.
Oh, to stick it to Turner?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, what a douche. Oh, my God. I did want to comment real quick on the Bayley injury. This sucks for her, but it might not be a bad thing for the long run. She shouldn't be in the title picture right now from everything. Now, granted, I haven't seen the last couple weeks of TV, but leading up to that, she's starting to get booed. People don't care. How they have taken $1 million act like Bayley and flushed it down the toilet with poor booking is one of the great mistakes / sins that WWE has ever done. And this might be the chance to rebuild her. She needs to go away for a long time, even if, let's say her injury requires, I don't know, 6 weeks. I say have her gone for 6 months. Was it distance makes the heart grow fonder? Let her be gone, have her come back, and then have her go on a massive losing streak.
I think it's absence, but I'm not trying to correct you.
Oh, yeah, no, you're right. You're right, it is absence. Thank you. I screwed that up.
But, yeah, I mean, but it's the old, I agree with you, because it's the old logic of the territorials. You would be hot for 6 months to a year. A year was considered a long run back in the day. And then you would go to another territory, and they use you 6 months to a year. And that's how they would keep you fresh. So...
And she is in desperate need of that, because if people get to the point where they full-blown turn on her, she's screwed. And that's like long-term screwed, because they have so messed her up. And
yeah, and I don't think anyone would buy her as a heel. Her face is just too innocent to play heel.
No, that's like, would anyone ever buy Ricky Steamboat as a heel? No.
Nope.
Exactly. She is the female Ricky Steamboat. Not as good in the ring. She's good, but she's no Steamboat. That's just, I wanted to throw in something about that. So
while we're on the Big Cass and Big Show topic, this is something I was going to bring up that was on Bring It to the Table. Apparently, this is pretty much how we're going to wrap up the Raw. Apparently, Enzo Amore is not liked in the locker room, like at all. Like to the point where people hate him. And what Corey said is the character that he plays on the show is who he is in real life. He's very much a larger than life character that like never shuts up and loves to tell you that he was partying in wherever with the Weeknd. And even Corey said it. He was like, "Do you like Enzo?" And he's like, "Let me be honest. I don't like Enzo." And it was just talking about how people in the past have been over and have been, been good or whatever, and they didn't get along with the wrestling roster, and it pretty much ended their careers before it started. Example I would use is Mr. Kennedy, King Kennedy, who it looked like everybody was putting everything behind him. And, they were putting everything behind him. He had the Money in the Bank case. He was going to be Vince McMahon's secret kid. I mean, they were going to put money into this kid. And apparently he didn't get along with anybody. They took everything away. So they were talking about Enzo Amore and Corey, of course, he is probably the voice of Triple H more than anyone else. He's like, I really like the kid. As far as how he works, I think he brings something to the roster. I think his best place would be on 205 Live. JBL threw out that he would send Kalisto to 205 Live too. And what do you think of that?
I think that's not a bad idea. Enzo needs to either go to he needs to leave Raw. But the problem is you go to 205 Live, you're still on Raw.
You're still traveling with the Raw.
Right. So he needs to either go back to NXT, or he needs to go to SmackDown, or he needs to become someone's mouthpiece. I mean, I could see putting him on 205 Live, and that would probably work for his size. Kalisto most definitely needs to be on 205 Live. The fact that he's not on 205 Live is kind of ridiculous, because the guy screams 205 Live. I mean, there are guys in the 205 roster that you put them next to Kalisto and they look like the Big Show, because he is that teeny tiny, and he's just I don't know. There are a bunch of guys that they're floundering with, but then it's like, well, wait a minute, what are they going to do with Kalisto if they can't find room for Grand Metalik? If you've got Grand Metalik, who is amazing, and you're doing dick all with him, what are they going to do with Kalisto?
Well, he comes out and he goes lucha, lucha.
Oh, God, which makes me want to kick him in the nuts.
But it gets the crowd into it. And when you're kind of dealing with a dead crowd after SmackDown's been taped, You need something like that to get him in. To me, that's why I would put Enzo on the show. I said I would put him as a third member of the announce team personally, to introduce his character to 205 Live. He would eventually wrestle, kind of like the Austin Aries situation, but I would have him on the announce table talking every week. Probably at the beginning of the show, when they're bringing out the announce team, he comes out and says, "My name is Enzo Amore," and does his thing. That gets the leftover SmackDown crowd back kicking and live and ready to go again, and then you shoot 205 Live.
Yeah, I think you're right. That would be the best way to amp up that crowd. It would be Enzo Amore. You have him come out. I mean, you could even, in that time, in the break between the end of SmackDown and as they're getting ready to go live with 205 Live, he could just jump on the mic and hype up the crowd.
Yeah, do his little spiel where he's just shit talking, and then he goes and be a part of the announce table.
I think that's a great idea.
Then while he's on the announce table, you can use those few months for him to get in more in-ring work before shows and stuff like that. Maybe work with the 205 Live people and really redevelop his character, and then use that to repackage him. Even when he's doing the announcing, talk about how he's been training, he's been working, and he's like when he's ready, he'll debut with 205 Live. That way, when he does debut with 205 Live and he's better, it doesn't really hurt the product.
Agreed. That's a really good idea, and that kind of there's this topic we've been thinking about discussing, and it might go good right here. We were talking about there's rumors of another superstar shakeup coming, and I thought it would be interesting to say who we think should go where. And okay, since this is kind of, we're talking about where should these two guys go, I think it would be a good fit. So we've got. We'll even include 205 Live. So we've got 4 shows: Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and 205 Live. And you can move anyone from any of these shows to any of the others, of course, with the caveat that to go to 205 Live, you have to be small or under 205 pounds. So who would you... Let's just start with Raw. Who would you send to Monday Night Raw?
Sami Zayn or Kevin Owens. I'm preferably going to go with Sami Zayn. Reason being, the IC title is the secondary title on Raw, and he's an automatic contender with The Miz on Raw, and it gets him away from Kevin Owens, which, as long as Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are on the same show, they're kind of bringing each other down because everybody's just kind of waiting for them to fight again.
Good call. And who else would you send to Raw?
Send to Raw the Usos.
So you want to give SmackDown, have them have no tag teams?
No, but we haven't talked about who I would send to SmackDown because that's where I would fix it. Okay. So I want to send the Usos to Raw. I think they're like Usos Penitentiary coming to Raw, them against Hardy Boys, them against Sheamus and Cesaro, because they're so bad that they make everybody look good because they are the people that'll jump you, and because they have that whole they're so good at promoing right now, and they have that feel in the back of your neck. It's the Usos. With the stacked Raw roster, if they go away for a couple weeks, that's okay. Because you could do the gimmick where, people get knocked out or just laying down on the back, and then it end up being the Usos the whole time. So it's something where they don't need as much TV time to get over as someone else. So that's why I would send them to Raw. Honestly, and Nakamura. If he doesn't win the title of SmackDown, they decide not to put the belt on him or whatever, he would be great on Raw, because Raw is so stacked. Him only showing up once or twice a month to keep his character fresh would be okay. On SmackDown, which has a limited roster, you can't just go away. But there's not a lot I would send to Raw.
Okay. Now, what about SmackDown? Who you sending to SmackDown?
Sending the Revival to SmackDown. because the Revival and the New Day, that rivalry needs to happen. I'm also going to send Gallows and Anderson to SmackDown, because if you're not going to do Gallows, Anderson, and Finn, you need to do Gallows, Anderson, and AJ. And you can kind of do it. AJ's kind of the face right now. You can do it where he's working with those three, and they're working together as the club, but they were not necessarily heels. They're just kind of this cool, in-the-middle type of group. So that would give somebody, because the club needs to happen. Gallows and Anderson are really fish out of water right now. I mean, when you're goons and you don't have somebody to goon for, that's really, really weird. So I feel like they're in this limbo right now. Then who else would I say? God, I was, if the U.S. title hadn't been given so much meaning, I would switch The Miz back to SmackDown, because, oh my God, The Miz was so great on SmackDown. But no, he's doing really good with The Miz Taraj on Raw, so I'm going to leave him there. Joe, and I will say this when it comes to either Roman or Braun. I don't know which one, but after this last man standing match and the match at SummerSlam, they need to go away from each other. So I would probably send Roman, because he's the better worker, but I wouldn't be too bad with Braun.
Okay. All right. Anyone else that you would send it to SmackDown?
No.
All right. Who would you send to NXT?
NXT. Apollo Crews. I would send him to NXT. I feel like his whole persona needs more development. Not his in-ring work. I think his in-ring work is fine. I think his persona needs more development. I don't think they should have called him up when they called him up. I think they kind of ruined him. Let's see. I'm looking. I'm thinking about I got to think about the roster.
I'm actually looking at the roster now, because I have to.
Yeah, I have to think about the roster. Going back to 205 Live. Cedric Alexander. I think he would work better as a main eventer on NXT. You send him down to NXT, have him work the bigger part of the card 6 months to a year, and then re-debut him on the main roster as a heavyweight character and not as a 205 Live character. That would work for me. Shit, I'm trying to think of all the people that would do with some more seasoning. Enzo, but I'm picking him for 205 Live, so I'm not going to send him there. But that would help him also. I'm trying to think of someone that is just like really not doing anything. It's like 205 Live would help them a lot, but I can't really think. NXT would help them a lot, but I can't even think of anybody off the top of my head. Maybe Mojo, because he seemed to be got lost in the shuffle too. But that's about it.
All right, so let's see here. I would do crap. Hold on, I'm trying to NXT roster. So I'm drawing a blank on who is where. So give me just a second and see if I can find the old NXT and then NXT and XT. Here, that's where I'm going. Oh yeah. Great content not found. You stupid. Okay, so here, this is something that pisses me off on the WWE website, right? So they've got their superstars list, which, okay, it would be nice if they broke this down by brand, but they have your list of champions, which includes the 205 Live champion, the UK champion, and all the NXT champions. But then you go down to the superstar list, and it doesn't include any of the NXT roster. Hell, the only UK dude it includes, I think, well, no, it includes Pete Dunne and the other guy, but it doesn't include all of the UK people. It's like, what the holy hell are you guys doing here, man? Okay, so, let's see if, jump to roster. So I would, first of all, I would send, okay, so, and this gets into some talk we're going to have about SummerSlam. I would send Kevin Owens to Raw with the United States title. I would send also to Raw, I like your idea of the Usos, so I'm stealing that. I think that's great. I would also send 3 people from NXT. Bobby Roode, Asuka, and Aleister Black. I would then send Miz and the Miztourage to SmackDown with the IC title, because I think the IC title works better on SmackDown. I would send Samoa Joe to SmackDown. Also, I'm stealing your idea. I would send the Revival to SmackDown, and I would send Bray Wyatt to SmackDown.
Okay.
And to NXT, I would send Apollo Crews, Cedric Alexander, all of the UK people, and Mike and Maria Kanellis. And really, there's a part of me that's like, well, you could move, some of the smaller, like, your Johnny Garganos could make some appearances on 205 Live. But then there's almost a part of me that's like, I'd rather just start moving people out of 205 Live, because I'm looking through this roster, I'm like, Tozawa, can we get him out of 205 Live? Maybe send him to NXT. And I'm thinking of all these people, Rich Swann. Can we get him out of 205 Live and doing other things? Because sometimes I think that's a bit of a death sentence. And a lot of these guys are so much better than what WWE has in mind. Gallagher's another one. Grand Metalik is another one. So that's what I would do. I would on Raw with things changing around, I would turn Finn heel, align him with Gallows and Anderson, and have them go on a tear. So whoever wins the title at SummerSlam, which obviously if Joe is going to SmackDown, he can't win the title. But I have a bad feeling he's not going to anyway, as much as I want him to. You could have... my brain stopped working. You could have Finn challenge whoever is the Universal Champion, and basically you could have Finn and Gallows and Anderson run, just destroy everyone, and just start mowing over fools, and then eventually have them get all the belts, and do something like that. But I think Raw could use an influx of new people. Bobby Roode, I look at a guy, I could see Vince McMahon not screwing up Bobby Roode, because he's kind of in that Vince template. I'm a little afraid of what they would do with Asuka and Aleister Black, but then again, I think Asuka would get back there, and if they told her, hey, we need you to do this, and she thought it was stupid, she would tell them to go fuck themselves, in Japanese, of course. And she wouldn't care. I mean, she'd just look at him like, no, I will kill you right now. So yeah, that would, and Aleister Black, I mean, does he, other than wanting to enjoy him in NXT, is there anything, does he need to be in NXT? I mean, that guy is money. Can you imagine just him showing up and just taking people out with that kick?
I heard a rumor that they're thinking about him for 205 Live.
Oh, sweet God, no. Oh.
You just take 205 Live, dude. You don't want anybody to go to 205 Live.
No, I hate what they've done with 205 Live. If they moved 205 Live to Full Sail, and they gave it they used the ring the way they did in the Cruiserweight Classic, because this is my conflict with 205 Live. I love the roster. I think the guys on there are fantastic, but I know Vince McMahon gives no shits about them, and just can't do them justice. In some of these cases, it's like, man, I look at this talent, and part of me thinks to myself, you know how much better these guys would be doing in Japan in the junior light heavyweight division? or in the junior heavyweight division, or the best of the super juniors kind of thing, just because this has more to do with my lack of faith in WWE knowing what to do with these people, and because of that, I don't want them to from the company's standpoint, to get tarnished with the whole cruiserweight thing, because it's real hard to break out of that once the company thinks that's what you are. Some people were able to make the best out of it. Neville has completely revitalized his career by being this badass heel. But this has far more to do with me. It's not that I don't enjoy 205 Live. When I watch it, I always enjoy it because the matches are fantastic. I love the roster. I just know that Vince specifically doesn't know what the hell to do with these people. And even though he's got a bunch of guys on that roster who are freaking money, Cedric, Gallagher, I mean, he's got guys that are ready, willing, and able to print him money. And he's not doing anything with them, and they're putting them in front of exhausted post-SmackDown crowds that have just watched some John Cena Nakamura main event. And if you're not going to let these guys go out there and do their super flippy-do stuff the way that they can, and to really wow people, because if they just took the reins off and they said, okay guys, you be you, boo, go do your thing, then they would liven those crowds up like that. But no, there are too many shackles put on them. So this is more of a condemnation of WWE in general than it has to do with anything 205 Live. But that's how I kind of would do things. I do think the UK guys need to get on TV somewhere, and I figure NXT is the best place to do it because those guys are awesome.
Yeah, that actually, I mean, like I said, I'm a big fan of 205 Live. I just think, to me, still, I think it's trying to find its legs, and they're going to find that hot storyline to bring everybody on the 205 Live. I have every confidence in it. I am big on them taking the reins off of them. I think a lot of their matches should look like Zack Sabre Jr. In Ricochet matches, because to me it's their own separate product, so it needs to look different than the other products. NXT looks like Ring of Honor. All their matches are kind of drawn out. There's rest holds. There's stuff you don't see on the main roster. And it's a different product. NXT is different from Raw and SmackDown. And I think they really need to focus on making 205 Live different from Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. It's the same thing with the British thing. It's like, you can't be a weekly show because British wrestling, British strong style, is kind of hard. If you WWE it will be hard to see any difference between that and Raw and SmackDown. So it's, to me, the four products. If you want it done correctly, you should be able to watch a match on any of the shows without any brand logo or anything or anyone talking, and be like, oh, the way they're working, that's 205 Live style. That's NXT style. That's Raw style. I think that would be the best, because if you're going to have four shows, they need to be kind of different so you can satisfy or go to all the different audiences.
Exactly.
So the thing with 205 Live, it just looks like a smaller version of Raw and SmackDown. And if that is how you shoot it, and if that is how you think of the people, that is how your fans are going to think of the people. And then all they're going to think of it as a watered-down version of Raw and SmackDown, and they're not going to watch it.
Exactly. And I think we've talked about this before, but with their network, they have their own network. There is no reason why they shouldn't be able to create different shows that are fit the fancy of all of your different type of wrestling fans. Like you could have kind of you could have your monthly UK show, and you're right, it should never be more than monthly. But in the interim, those guys all show up on NXT. And you could even do this with 205 Live. Maybe stop doing 205 Live as a weekly show. Maybe make it a monthly show. And you have cruiserweight matches, some on Raw, and others on, and you have those guys interact on NXT. And then once a month, they have a special and you make it a big deal. And that's where, because you have storylines that fester in NXT, you have storylines that fester on Raw, and when you'd have the special, you even bring in, you show footage from each, and it would be great cross-promoting of your brands to get people who maybe only watch Raw and they see the snippet, and maybe for whatever reason, they like this Grand Metalik Cedric Alexander feud that gets started that you see bits and pieces of on Raw. And so they find out, oh, they also had some matches on NXT. Let me watch that. Oh, they've got special. Let me watch that. And then, wait a minute. Who is this Jack Gallagher fellow? This guy's funny. I need to check him out more. And do something like that. And, if you have a monthly UK show, you know who could show up there? Aleister Black. You know who could show up there? Neville. Because, they're from the UK. Hell, Finn Balor could make an appearance from time to time and make it a big deal. That's the way I would do it, and I think that's the way that would make them more money, but that's not going to happen until Vince croaks. I mean, we're in such a holding pattern, and CM Punk even said it best during the pipe bomb. Nothing is really going to change until he is completely incapacitated, he being Vince McMahon, or dead. And even then, who knows how much it's really going to change. I think if Triple H had his way, I think he would do things that would make the product better. And if you could have, you have 4 main separate weekly shows, or even just 3 main separate weekly shows that are 3 traveling brands that literally function as 3 different territories. I wouldn't even just call them brands. I would make them 3 separate organizations. And so much to the point where you could have WWE as the umbrella company, but don't just call it Raw, don't call it the Raw Women's Champion or the Raw Tag Team Champions. You come up with a 3-letter name, World Wrestling, whatever the fuck, for both Raw and SmackDown. Hell, you could even bring back the WCW name. They wouldn't do that, but give them each individual names, create separate identities, and that way you become do it like so many other major corporations. Think of Time Warner. How many subgroups are within Time Warner? And it works, and Time Warner makes hella money.
Do any of them compete against each other though?
The record labels do. Sure.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
And why not? Why not have them create competition? Because when has WWE been at its best? It was at its best when Ted Turner, for a couple of years, was kicking their ass. And they decided, oh, we need to step up. And there was even that famous commercial and that vignette where Vince McMahon got on the program and said, we don't want to insult your intelligence. We know you're smarter than this. Well, obviously, he threw out the baby with the bathwater with that one. Because he's gone completely in the other direction.
I mean, the Attitude Era was out of desperation. It was not out of Vince's idea of what the WWF product should have been. It was out of desperation. He was trying to save his company, and he would have taken any idea then to save his company. And now that there is no competition. They're the only wrestling product on that level that they don't care. They don't. And it's obvious. I mean, they want people to want what they want them to want.
Yeah.
They want to give people what they want. They like, this is what I want you to have. Enjoy it. And it's felt like that for a very, very long time. That's why I'm like, to me, I have adjusted how I watch wrestling to that. Like, if I want wrestling like I grew up on that I love, I generally watch New Japan. I mean, I'm getting a kick out of the G1 specials. Unfortunately, like 2 or 3 of the episodes were all in Japanese, and I don't like hearing languages I don't understand. I know that makes me a horrible person, but I hate it. And so I've just now, I had to skip a couple episodes, and now I'm into the 2. But I consider that real wrestling, if you, for lack of a better word. It's just so much more physical. It's so much better. I can't watch New Japan the day before I watch Raw because I can't even enjoy the WWE product after watching it. I mean, as far as the in-ring product, of course, all the storylines and stuff is great, but it's just on a whole nother level, So, like I said, you're big on the sweeping change. I'm big on the little changes that would, maybe you got to work inside of Vince's system. You know what I'm saying? And the sweeping changes, because to me, it's like, I got to wait until Vince McMahon dies. It's realistic that he outlives me. You know what I mean? That dude is a health nut that works out every day. And, if he felt like something was, if he felt like anything was killing him, he would stop doing it. Unlike the rest of us who, like, oh, you shouldn't eat pork. Man, I can't wait to have those pork chops Sunday. He's the one of the guys, like, he'll never eat pork again if he feels it's killing him. So he's going to do what he can to live. And to me, it's like, I want the product to be great. I do. I want the product to be great. But I don't know. It's just like, when you make the product too great, like it did in the Attitude Era, now you have a bunch of fans like, it's never going to be as good as it was in the Attitude Era. And what they could be doing? They could be setting up another Attitude Era. Because what did Attitude Era come out of? It came out of unfortunately, a very boring time in the WWF. And then the Attitude Era was set up. So I think there's a boom coming. I've been saying that for a while, though. I'm just waiting on that storyline that really brings it out and really makes a change on who the WWE is. But in the politically correct world that we live in, the Attitude Era wouldn't play.
Yeah, that's true. And, Vince McMahon has no desperation right now because despite the fact ratings keep tanking, the company is making more money than they've ever made before.
Yes, because the company is smart, as in they're making their money. They're like, okay, you're not watching on TV, but we have more YouTube videos than watches than anyone. So they're really focusing on the online aspect of their product. They're more, if the Raw ratings went down to ones, right? If the Raw ratings went down to ones, but they got an extra 500 to 600,000 subscribers, they would take that trade-off all day. Because subscribers are guaranteed money every month.
Yeah, the problem, though, is their ratings keep going down. Eventually, NBC Universal can say, okay, guys, we're done. And
yeah, but you would have to prove that people are watching something else, and they're not. What's happening is the amount of people watching TV is just going down. So their share is still pretty decent for, like, a Monday night.
Yeah, the thing, though, is they make so much money. One of the big money makers that they have in this company is what they make from their deal with NBC. And if that deal goes away or drops a lot, then they're in trouble. Because that is a lot of the money that they have. So that's where I'm saying is the ratings are important. It might not, they can go, well, we're making money off YouTube. We got all these subscribers, yada yada yada. But at the end of the day, they need that income from NBC, because if they lost that, hell, if they lost the third hour of Raw, because even though I think everyone in the company knows that third hour of Raw is killing Raw, that brings in so much money from NBC that they keep
$50 million a year.
Right. So they keep it around. What's going to happen if they lost that? Vince would lose his mind. And maybe they should. You know what? If I was NBC, I would probably go, hey guys, look, we want to keep you guys around, but this third hour of Raw, we're paying you a lot of money for it, and yet these ratings stink, and it's hurting your show.
You know the third hour of Raw was NBC Universal's idea, not WWE.
Yes, yeah. And
okay.
Yeah, I totally know that. But they need to go and say, hey, we know this was our idea, but this really isn't working, and it's hurting you and it's hurting us. So we're going to cut this out. We're going to show some reruns of Cops because we can get that dirt ass cheap, and we need you to make your show better.
Yeah.
So,
I would love for them to say that. But, they have a low number and a high number as far as the ratings and that they live with. Well, my point was they wouldn't care about the NBC thing if they could get 500,000 more subscribers. Because 500,000 more subscribers, I just did the math really quick, $9.99 a month for over a year. You know how much money that is?
a lot.
$59 million.
And how much money did you say was the third hour making them a year?
52.
So then what? Okay, so
If that's what I'm saying. They would not care about that third hour if they could get their subscriber base up. Because
the problem is
that money goes directly to them.
Right. The problem, though, that they're going to run into is there's a very good chance Universal is going to just pull and say, no, we're not going to do this anymore. And
They can't pull it to 2019. That's the great thing about WWE contract. Unlike other shows that can be canceled, when they sign their contract, it's through 2019. They can't pull the show.
Right. That I know that. It's the thing that they're going to run into is when they do pull and say, okay, we're done. If this happens, and WWE could find another home, that won't be a problem. They'll be able to find a home.
Oh, yeah. ESPN has wanted WWE forever.
Right, but ESPN's not going to give them that same kind of money.
No, they're not going to give them that same kind of money, but would you rather be on the ESPN or USA? If they're on ESPN2 every Monday night, right? It's ESPN.
Yeah, I mean, it would give them
I would take
more.
a little less money to be on ESPN and get the ESPN coverage personally.
And it would certainly be more of it would legitimize them more as far as their being a sport is concerned. But
yeah, the only difference is if you have a cable package, you have USA. I think ESPN2 is not on basic cable anymore. It's like you have to have a sports package. So I'm just saying, there is some trade-off there. It's a business, of course. We were very clear about that all the time. And it's funny because we only care about the business aspect because we know it's going to take a business reason for them to make their product better.
exactly.
That's the only reason we care. Because I don't care how much money. I mean, I'm a stockholder, and I still don't care how much money the WWE makes. I don't care how much money they make. I just care about being entertained every week. And I feel like if you're entertained every week, the show is interesting every week and brings you in, tells good storylines, and they put on great matches, that sells T-shirts. That packs arenas. That spikes ratings. And I was like, so to me, if you make the best product, people will come. And right now, the WWE does not focus on making the best product.
Yeah, that they don't. Real quick, before we move on to SmackDown, since we're talking about rosters, I was looking at the website. Did you know that if you flip through here, they've got like the history of all the different titles, and they have like retired titles on here. I thought this was kind of cool. So you're flipping through, and of course, it starts with the Universal belt, and then the World belt, and then United. So here's something interesting. And this shows you just which show is more important, right? So you've got Universal, WWE Championship, United States Championship, IC title. Well, actually, no. The United States is on SmackDown. Never mind that theory. Then you got the Raw Women's, Raw, SmackDown, Raw Tag, SmackDown Tag, Cruiserweight, then the UK, then the NXT titles, and then it has the World Heavyweight Championship, the Divas Championship, World Tag Team Championship, the old WWF Tag Team Championships, basically. European title, light heavyweight, cruiserweight, women, the old women's championship, the hard title. Then it has the WCW title, the ECW title, and the ECW TV title. And it also has the ECW Tag Team titles. I just thought this was really interesting. The other thing, though, is I love how even though the lineage of the WCW title goes back, it includes the NWA World Championship up through 91. because that was part of the deal when WCW split from them, and there was this whole court case over the belt, the big gold belt and everything. And it was decided that WCW got to claim the heritage, the lineage of the NWA Championship. Yet they, even though on their network they have WCW pay-per-views that are really Jim Crockett promotion pay-per-views that have the NWA title in them, they don't show that lineage. I just thought that was interesting. But total side note there. Has nothing to do with anything else we're talking about other than I was looking at it and I thought I'd mention it.
Yeah, that's cool. You know what? Ain't nothing wrong with a little title talk, because I love belts. I love that. I mean, to me, I've always said in wrestling, I mean, you can do great storylines without a title, but the title sometimes just drives it home.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So how about SmackDown this week?
SmackDown this week. You know what? We always have a lot less to say on SmackDown because, fortunately, it was a shorter show. We started off, SmackDown. Again, they're coming back to being SmackDown. Starts off with AJ Styles versus Kevin Owens. Great match. Like I said, they haven't had that match yet. That jaw-dropping, oh my God, these are two of the best workers in the world match. I don't know if they're saving it. It feels like they're holding back a little bit, but they put on a really good match this week. The finish was kind of cool. The finish, AJ hits Kevin Owens with a move, and the referee counts to 3, even though Kevin Owens is, was his shoulder up or his foot on the rope? I don't remember. I think his shoulder was clearly up, and the dude counts to 3, because what happens is AJ ducks, and Kevin Owens punches the ref in the face, and then AJ rolls him up, and Kevin Owens has his shoulder up at 2, and the referee counts to 3 anyway because he had gotten punched in the face. And so Kevin Owens gets pissed. He throws everything. He goes back, yells at Shane McMahon, tells him he's an idiot, and Daniel Bryan. He yells at both of them, and he's like, "I need some." They were like, "Okay, you get your match at SummerSlam." He's like, "Oh, I deserve that, so I need somebody out there that's not going to miss the call." And that's when they announced Shane McMahon is going to be the special guest referee of AJ Styles, Kevin Owens. It's not what I thought we were going to get. I thought we were going to get Shane versus Kevin Owens in a match, but we're getting AJ versus Kevin Owens with Shane as special guest referee. Of course, Kevin Owens says Shane's a bigger idiot than most of the refs out there. And Daniel Bryan was like, "You want your match? That's the only way you get it." And then that solidifies that match for SummerSlam. Then we get the Usos. They start off with the New Day's music plays, and the Usos come out, and they're basically insulting the New Day the whole time, how they put them out and doing the little rhyme thing. And now the Usos' music, they actually have a remix, and their music has words on it talking about going to the penitentiary. Usos. It's pretty cool if you actually listen to it. It's only like 2 minutes and 17 seconds long, but they just added some lyrics to it, and it gives it more of a full sound to me.
Cool.
Of course, since there is a hip hop influence, if you're going to have the hip hop influence, you need to have words, because that's a big part of hip hop. So it works out. In a shocker, Aiden English defeats Sami Zayn.
Oh God, why?
Yeah. I honestly don't even remember how it happened. I think I was actually busy at this time. Tuesday was especially busy this week at work, so I actually kind of missed that whole match. And somebody's like, "Well, Aiden English won." I was like, "Really?" And it was so shocking, I didn't even go back and watch it. I was like, "Good job, Aiden English."
Actually, I think I did watch the top 10 moments from SmackDown video on what the fuck is it? YouTube. Thank you, YouTube. Wow, brain's not working. Anyway, and they did show that, and it was banana peel, slip, holy fuck, how'd that happen, kind of thing. So, but yeah. So yeah, Aiden English, go for it. Good, go ahead.
That makes sense. Then we got that didn't make any sense. The Naomi and Becky Lynch match, I'll just skip past that because it brought nothing to anything. Rusev and Chad Gable put on a great match. and I like that they're pushing Chad Gable as a single star, not letting him get lost. Rusev does get the win, but Chad Gable put on a hell of a fight in that match, and he's a great worker. So I like to see what they do with Chad Gable in that case. And then the main event. John Cena versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Have you watched this match?
No, not entirely. I saw the clips from that YouTube video. They had a couple clips. I did see the back exploder where John Cena landed square in his head, and if he wasn't built the way he was, he probably would have broken his neck. And yet, man, you got to give the man credit. He popped. I mean, post match, he's popped up and John Cena, and done. He's Super Cena. He's called that for a reason. But I guess Nakamura at the end of the match apologized, and he was like, "You have nothing to apologize for." What little I saw of it, one, the Kinshasa looked terrible. I don't know.
I was gonna say, it almost looked like he missed it.
Yeah. Some people are really good at taking that move, and some people aren't. And sometimes Nakamura, as much times we praise Nakamura, and people do, for his talent and his charisma and everything, he can phone it in like nobody. And there's been large portions of his career, large portions of his NXT run, where he was just phoning it in, and he knew he could walk out there and dance to his music and do his crazy hand gestures, shake, and that's all he needed to do to get over. So he didn't have to put in a whole ton of effort in his matches. And I get the feeling from what I saw of this that it wasn't as great as people were hoping it was going to be.
Yeah, it wasn't. I mean, of course, they didn't have a lot of time. I think they gave him like 18 minutes to do the whole match, and they did the match. And John Cena, every negative thing I've ever said about John Cena, and at the end of his career, during the middle of his career, I'm actually having to take a lot of it back as we get to the end of his career, because he's doing what you're supposed to do. You're putting over the new guys, and he's not really. I don't know a lot of backstage news, but you have not heard a lot of backstage news about him, having a problem with it. I feel like he just feels like this is what he's supposed to do, and this is awesome. And it's so he puts over Nakamura to go against Jinder Mahal. It's funny because Nakamura's only I think 2 years younger than John Cena, so he's putting over the young talent to go against Jinder Mahal. Great job, Cena. He took the bump on the back of his neck. He looks like John Cena, and his neck is pretty much a mountain. So, of course, it not hurting him doesn't shock me. And him not taking the Shinasa so much doesn't bother me either, because, now that he's going into the acting world, the face is his moneymaker. He can't mess up the moneymaker.
Okay, Miz.
But it is. At this point in time in his life, let's say he has a shoot on Monday and he comes in with a black eye. That doesn't work.
True.
He is much more a face of the WWE than the face of the WWE anymore. So they need his face to look good.
Yeah, good point. Very good point.
So him not taking it after the match on the WWE Network exclusive, Baron Corbin comes out to attack Shinsuke Nakamura. John Cena saves Shinsuke Nakamura, then puts Baron Corbin through the announce table, probably setting up at SummerSlam Baron Corbin versus John Cena. This segues to a very important topic. Because SmackDown was good. I gave it very much a solid B+, maybe even an A, just because the first match and the last match, they started with 2 singles matches. They gave me some Usos and everything. Oh, and then they even had a shout out to the Twin Peaks series, because they had Fashion Peaks.
I wish I'd seen that.
Oh, you have to go back and watch the tape. They did the Fashion Peaks segment, which was cool, because me and my friend Leanne, we are both Twin Peaks people. She got me to go back and watch the old episodes, and now I've even subscribed to Showtime, and I have, I've watched most of the new episodes. So the fact they even did some subtle shout outs to the whole Black Lodge thing, because they had the Ascension come out and doing the video. It was pretty cool. If you're a fan of Twin Peaks, you would have gotten all the references there. So had a good job on that part. So I definitely would have graded an A. But the big question I asked Dave this week, is this SummerSlam lineup better than the WrestleMania lineup? And only the reason I'm going to start with you, Dave, because I asked the question, I have a very opinion. But so what do you think?
Let's see. Well, looking at the. So I pulled up the cards, but real quick before we get to that, do you think putting Nakamura against Jinder is a no-win situation for both of these guys?
I think it's a no-win situation for Jinder, but not for Nakamura. I mean, Nakamura, has been groomed for being the champion. I mean, that's the thing. A lot of people thought he should have won it on his first match at SmackDown. A lot of people really thought that. So, they've done a good slow build for it, but it's Nakamura who only works with the title to me. He only works with the title.
I think at the end of this, no matter what, let's say Jinder somehow wins. Nakamura looks like a fool. Jinder loses, and people go, well, the Jinder experiment's over. He's back to being a jabron.
It depends on how Jinder wins. If Jinder wins because of the Singh brothers and the Great Khali, I don't feel like Jinder Mahal winning has done anything to Randy Orton's career. It hasn't hurt it at all.
Well, the difference is Randy Orton's in a place where his career is so set it doesn't matter.
And I feel like Nakamura's the same way. Nakamura's Nakamura. I mean,
yeah.
Shinsuke Nakamura is Shinsuke Nakamura. I mean, his career in the WWE might not be all that defined, but if you know wrestling, if you're having a conversation with me and you better bring some more than the WWE to your table, and Nakamura's a Hall of Famer. Well,
yeah, but I'm talking about his WWE career.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
So yeah, that's my concern with that.
I just think if he loses the same way that Randy Orton's lost, I don't think it hurts him at all. And, it just makes Jinder Mahal this more of an unstoppable type of character. And I think it does more to build up his gimmick. So when someone beats him, not only are they going to have to beat him, they're going to have to beat the Singh brothers, they're going to have to beat the Great Khali. It's going to do so much for when they finally beat Jinder Mahal.
So, yeah, that's a good point, but I don't think they're going to do that. Here's kind of what I think is the only way to get out of this and kind of save face for everyone. Have in the match a very good, very competitive back and forth match, and to the point where Nakamura is about to hit the Kinshasa. Baron Corbin's music hits. He comes out with the briefcase, gets in the ring, and smacks Nakamura in the face with it. Knocks him out of the ring. Match is called off, DQ. Jinder's starting to get up. He nails Jinder in the face with it. Hits an end of day, says, I'm cashing in, cashes in, walks out with the belt. That way it shows it took, in order to put these two other guys down, they had to get a steel briefcase in the face. And so I think from standpoint, no one loses face, because now you've got automatically two challengers for Baron Corbin's title that he is pissed off, and probably, especially if John Cena beats him earlier in the night, which he probably will, because Super Cena, then he's got a third guy who can say, I just beat you the same night. I need a shot at that belt. 3 feuds instantly. That's the way I would book it, which means it obviously won't happen. But that's something I wanted to bring up before we moved on. And did you have any thoughts on that before we look at these cards?
Like I said, if Jinder Mahal wins, like the Singh brothers come down and Great Khali hits him in the head, Jinder Mahal hits the Colossal Shinsuke Nakamura, and Jinder Mahal wins, I don't think it does anything against Shinsuke Nakamura. He just got screwed over just like everybody else. It pretty much goes to Jinder Mahal will do anything to win. So I think a cool way to do it is Jinder Mahal is beating Shinsuke Nakamura. Shinsuke Nakamura is beating the crap out of Jinder Mahal. Baron Corbin comes out, hits Shinsuke Nakamura, knocks him out. Of course, Shinsuke Nakamura gets DQ'd, but Jinder Mahal's laying there all beat up. Baron Corbin cashes the title, cashes it in on Jinder Mahal, already beat up Jinder Mahal, basically snatches the belt from Shinsuke Nakamura. So you got this point where Nakamura is beating the champion, and then the champion, lost his belt, so he gets his, has this point where he gets do a match too, and then at the next pay-per-view you set up a situation where the champion Baron Corbin is defending it against Shinsuke and Jinder Mahal, so Jinder Mahal stays in the main event picture. Somehow Jinder, through nefarious means, gets the title back, and then you have this whole situation where everybody's still trying to get the belt off Jinder Mahal if you wanted to do something like that. But there's a lot of different ways to go with it. I don't think Jinder has to go into obscurity if he loses. I think he can lose, and he still has his group of goons behind him, and he can just basically go back to where the world title is the dominant belt on the brand, as opposed to what they've done with the U.S. title being the dominant title. So what you do is you pretty much take the belt off Jinder. He loses this twice in a row, and then you go give him the U.S. title a little later. And that way you keep him relevant, because he's supposed to be a mid-carder. He's not supposed to be a main eventer. What I've learned from Jinder Mahal over the last few months is that his in-ring ability is limited, as in he does what he does. I'm not saying he's not good. He just does what he does. He doesn't have a great match in him, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can see that. And you and I are pretty much on the same page. It's we're basically saying these are slight variations of the same idea that
you need to flip Jinder back to the mid card.
Yes.
I don't want him at the bottom of the card. He just needs to be at the mid card. He needs to be competing for the U.S. title, not the WWE title, because SmackDown is the workers' brand, and the WWE title in that case was the workers' belt for a while, and then you've kind of flipped it to where the U.S. belt's the workers' belt. I would really like them to flip it back.
Agreed. All right, so now back to your original question. Looking at these two cards, so let's just kind of run these down real quick, because I had to look these up. So we had from WrestleMania, we had Neville against Austin Aries for the Cruiserweight title, the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, Dean Ambrose defeating Baron Corbin for the IC belt. He held onto it. AJ Styles and Shane McMahon, Kevin Owens beating Chris Jericho for the U.S. title, Bayley winning that Fatal 4-Way with Charlotte, Sasha, and Nia Jax for the Raw Women's Championship, the Fatal 4-Way Tag Team Ladder match for the Raw Tag Team Championships with the Hardy Boys defeating Gallows and Anderson, Cesaro and Sheamus, and Cass and Enzo. Man, that was a fun match. That was so much fun. Cena and Nikki Bella beating Miz and Maurice. That was gross. We had Seth Rollins defeating Triple H. Randy Orton defeating Bray Wyatt to win the WWE Championship. That made me sad. Brock Lesnar beating Goldberg. That was great for the Universal title. And Naomi in a six-pack challenge winning the SmackDown Women's Championship, beating Alexa, Carmella, Mickie James, where's she been, by the way, Natalya and Becky Lynch, and then Roman Reigns with The Undertaker. As of right now, here's the SummerSlam card. Brock Lesnar facing Roman Reigns, Samoa Joe, and Braun Strowman for the Universal title. Naomi facing Natalya for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Alexa Bliss facing Bayley, though that's probably going to change, for the Raw Women's Championship. Jinder Mahal defending the WWE Championship against Shinsuke Nakamura. Neville taking on Akira Tozawa for the Cruiserweight Championship. AJ Styles defending U.S. title against Kevin Owens. Randy Orton versus Rusev because reasons. And The New Day defending the SmackDown Tag Team Championship against the Usos. We're probably going to add to this the Semi-Shield taking on The Bar. And then what else do you think is going to be added? There's going to be...
probably a three-way match with The Revival, Gallows and Anderson, and the Hardys.
Yeah, that would be a good one. It would be... What would be... If we could... If they could just say fuck it and just go full-blown broken after that match and just have Matt snap, and that would be so entertaining. What would be really good, it would be hysterical, is if the Hardys came out, if Matt wore a t-shirt that just said FTR.
Yeah. That would be awesome.
That would be so awesome. So on paper,
I say the fact that I don't have to deal with Goldberg, Shane McMahon, and Undertaker makes the SummerSlam roster better.
Yes. Yeah, I think on paper, the SummerSlam card certainly looks better.
Yeah, because you're basically replacing Goldberg, Shane McMahon, and who did I say? Undertaker. You're replacing them with Nakamura, like Baron Corbin, and Braun Strowman.
Right.
You're focusing on the young roster. The people. Samoa Joe wasn't on the WrestleMania card. He's in it now. You had the SmackDown tag belts that weren't on the WrestleMania card. Probably arguably the best tag team in the WWE right now, other than the Revival, is the Usos. So you have that. They're on it. They weren't on the show. I think they were in the Battle Royal or whatever. But as a tag team, they didn't defend their titles at the shows. Just looking at it, it's like Cruiserweight is probably going to get relegated again to the pre-show. Maybe one of the women's matches. I don't know. But, it's loaded. It's going to be an hour pre-show and probably a 4-hour show. It's going to be loaded.
That it is. It is going to be very loaded.
Yes. I did want to say this on the Slam post show. I will literally be driving back from Brooklyn at that time, so it'll probably just be you, or we'll pre-record something the night before, because we pretty much have to leave as soon as we get up that Monday morning.
Well, why don't we plan on, I might do something that morning, or we might just wait and talk about it the following Sunday.
Yeah, because
that's fine.
Yeah, because it's a 24-hour drive from New York, and I have to work Tuesday night. So
suck.
So
yeah, that's totally fine. And maybe I could see if Daniel would be available to do a post show. So we will figure it out. And you know what? We will let you guys know. A great way to keep up with what we got going on here at Around the Ring is to follow us on Twitter. You can find us at AroundTheRingOK. You can also send us emails, aroundtheringok@gmail.com. The website is aroundtheringok.com. And that's also where you can find us on Facebook if you like the Facebook, facebook.com/AroundTheRing. And real quick, speaking of, since I'm doing the plugs right now, we have just been added to iHeartRadio. So if you go on the iHeart, if you like using iHeart for listening to stuff, you can find Around the Ring there. Just search Around the Ring and you will find us on there. So that's pretty cool. We're already on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spreaker, and now we got iTunes to the mix, baby. We're growing. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, I love that, and I'm hoping that our listener base grows, because this is, I mean, like I said, I enjoy doing this. If one person's listening to it or 1,000 people are listening to it, it makes a difference to me. I honestly talk to Dave about wrestling on Sundays just because I enjoy it. People like, well, you think everyone's listening because I do prioritize this time on Sunday for this, and people's like, you think anyone's listening? I was like, I don't care. I talk to my friend about wrestling, and I hope some other people enjoy listening to our conversation.
I'm right there with you. It is. I couldn't agree more. But yeah. So yeah, that was. So yeah, I totally agree. SummerSlam on paper looks like it is going to be a much better show. And the Mania ended up being pretty fun because you mentioned the Shane AJ match, but my God, if that thing wasn't great.
Honestly, it felt like it should have ended after the Hardy Boys appearance. But again, being in the building, that was a very, very long day.
Oh God, I can only imagine.
Oh, it was such a long day, and it was just like, we get towards the end, Brock Lesnar and Goldberg are great, and then we get Roman and The Undertaker that nobody wanted to be the main event, and no one cared about. And it was like the first half of the card that pretty much represented, not necessarily, I wouldn't call it the newer talent, but the talent you've been watching all year, was way hotter than the end of the year, end of the show, where it was just a bunch of people, that's coming in for that one time. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, that's annoying to me. It's just, I want you to feature, like I said, Nakamura and AJ Styles should be the main event, or Braun Strowman, even if they went Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns again as the main event at a WrestleMania or something like that. That's what I want to see. I want to see the current stars main event the biggest shows.
Agreed wholeheartedly. All right, so let's talk about NXT, unless you had anything else on these.
No, NXT is, again, it's back to being my favorite show of the week. It's ROH wrestling with WWE presentation.
And I mean, of course, it certainly felt like that this week with the debut of a certain someone. But this, I actually did watch this. So the show opened up with Johnny Gargano taking on Raul Mendoza, who had been in the Cruiserweight Classic. So I will say, I love that when Gargano came out, it started with the DIY music, and he looked up at the screen and he just looked out at the crowd and held up a finger to say, "Wait a minute," and then his new music started and he pointed at the screen. I thought that was a cool moment. That having been said, I still prefer the DIY music, but if you listen closely to his new music, it's the same chord progression, so it's basically a tweak of the song. So I'm okay with that. It's still in that same vibe. It still sounds kind of like something I think he would listen to, because from what I can tell about Johnny Gargano is he's a bit of a fan of punk rock, so I can kind of see that as being something he would dig. But
I did want to say this because we're talking about Johnny Gargano. One person did miss from the list. I would move Johnny Gargano to 205 Live.
You could do that. He would be. He could actually do well there.
Yeah, I mean Johnny wrestling. He has a following. People love him. I think it would add a spike to 205 Live. He's kind of in that Sami Zayn type of vein. And him versus Neville, I think, can do some good things. And he has a way of controlling the crowd with the mic that goes along. He's really good on the mic. So, yeah. And that whole hop through the rope spear, a lot of his moves, to me, would play way better than what's going on 205 Live now.
Agreed. I mean, you think one of the best matches of the Cruiserweight Classic was that match he had with Tommaso Ciampa.
Yeah.
I mean, that thing was unreal. And then you could, I mean, if you moved him to 205 Live, you could, when Tommaso's better, have Tommaso show up on 205 Live, and that blood feud continues there.
Basically, like, I'm going to follow you wherever you go.
Exactly. Which plays into something I think we'll see eventually. We then had Asuka doing an in-ring promo, and bless her heart, her poor English, she still struggles sometimes. It's getting better, I think. But but the less she says, the better, because she doesn't need to talk a whole lot. She just exudes, I'm going to kill you. Then Ember Moon came out, and Ember Moon talked, maybe a little too much. They need to stop using those stupid things in the contacts. She looks so much better without them.
I like the contacts because it plays to the whole. Because I honestly did not get her gimmick that she was a werewolf. The eyes kind of drive home to me.
I don't even get that. To me, she's just she's kind of a, I don't want to call her a weeblo or weeaboo. She's like an anime fan. She's like a cosplayer. That's, to me, her gimmick. She's someone that's really into nerdy stuff and is playing that up.
I just say she's horrible on the mic, personally.
She's not that good. No, so this was not a good segment until Asuka slapped the utter crap out of Ember Moon. That smack was so loud and so awesome. And then they kind of brawled, and it was a decent little brawl, which ended with Ember hitting the Eclipse. Not the best looking Eclipse she's ever done. That's a tough move, man, because that has almost more to do with whoever's taking it than who's giving it to be successful. And she, long term, man, that is not something she needs to do forever. I know she is. It's not quite the same comparison because Hulk Hogan is, like 4 of her. But if he destroyed his hips and tailbone simply by doing a standard leg drop every night, she is going to destroy her hips, tailbone, back by landing flat on her ass every night after jumping off the top rope. I mean, legit, she legit lands like she's giving a leg drop.
Generally, let me say this, generally women's careers are shorter.
True.
So I don't think it's going to be as bad, and the NXT people work less.
That is also true. But
yeah, he was working 320, 330 days a year, sometimes doing more than 365 shows because on Sundays they would do an afternoon show and evening show.
Well, brother, I tell you, there were some years I worked more than 365 days, brother.
Yeah, I mean, and it's true. He did.
He worked more than 365 shows, but he liked to say that because of time zones and everything. But then again, he also said he tried out for Metallica, which is absolute bullshit. So, can you imagine him?
I don't ever call anything because, what is a tryout? What the wild world they live in. He could be spewing a whole bunch of crap, and it's honestly true.
Maybe I don't know.
Just because you try out didn't mean you actually had a shot. They say, "Oh, you're Hulk Hogan. Okay, I'll let you play this." Okay, thanks, man. We're gonna go a different direction. That's a tryout for Metallica.
Yeah, maybe, and truth, it does depend on your point of view. So
I was gonna say it doesn't mean he had a shot of actually getting it. I mean, I can say, "Hey, I interviewed to be the CEO of Dell." Doesn't mean I was going to get it. Someone I knew gave me an interview.
A very good point. Point taken. We then had, Bobby Roode did a backstage interview where he just completely talked trash about a bunch of people, and then Roderick Strong tried to attack him. And then Roddy and Regal had this really awkward stare down, and Roderick was like, I want Bobby Roode. What kind of a man am I if I don't stand up to him? It was really, that dialogue was pretty bad. And William Regal was like, my hands are tied, in his very Britishness. And it was a segment. It wasn't the best thing I've ever seen. It wasn't the worst.
Yeah, Bobby Roode is he's definitely my favorite character on NXT. He might be one of my favorite characters in the WWE because he's very much, in every way, Ric Flair from the 80s. I mean, that's the character. I'm better than everybody else. I'm rich. I'm this. I am not the everyman. I am just better than you. And it's very much Ric Flair from the early 80s and the Horsemen. I would love for him to have a stable. I think he should have a stable. But you know what he does? He's doing a really good job carrying it on his own.
And that may be something like when he goes up to Raw or SmackDown, he gets a stable.
Stable, yeah. But yeah, him right now, it's amazing. I don't know if he's going to go up. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
He's like
He's 40. Yeah. You know, I think he might be an NXT lifer.
Though, unlike someone like Cassius Ohno, who I think everyone knows is NXT for life, Bobby Roode is someone that I can see handing him over to Vince McMahon, and Vince going, "Oh, I know what to do with this guy. I can work with this."
Yeah, my thing with Bobby Roode is if you do NXT in general, and I think you agree with this, if I don't have a defined spot for you on the main roster, don't bring you up. Because I think as much as I love Ty Dillinger and as much as I'm very, very happy that he's getting his main roster call up and everything, he should still be on NXT.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But
unless you have a spot, a storyline, an idea, just leave him on NXT.
Yeah. I think Bobby Roode should probably be in the Royal Rumble. Because think of how much that place would explode if his music hit. It would be pretty nuts, I think.
It would be pretty nuts, yeah.
It would be.
So he just turned 40 this year.
Wow.
So,
he didn't look 40. Man.
He doesn't.
Nope.
I mean, yeah. I mean, he does a really good job staying in shape, but it's just the whole thing with it. It's just, I just really want... I'm really, really tired of them shitting the bed with NXT people. Even though they have done really good jobs with certain people, Nakamura, Finn Balor, they've kept them at the top. I'm just like, you know, like the people like Ty Dillinger, Apollo Crews, that could have used a little more time in NXT to really develop their character. Not Ty Dillinger. Ty Dillinger's character is Ty Dillinger. It's just they needed to do something with him. The whole 10 aspect, I don't know how much Ty Dillinger weighs, but I think it would play on 205 Live too.
Yeah. And it also sucks for him he had to change his finisher, because his new finisher is kind of stupid looking. He needs to find a different move.
See, KO liked it, and I don't have a problem with it. The person's, I was going to say this earlier, and I forgot. Person's finisher I hate right now is Jason Jordan. With right now they have him doing this whole, he throws them up out of the suplex position, and it turns into a neck breaker. I don't like it.
Oh. And that's too much like Eric Young's wheelbarrow neck breaker. I don't like that either.
Yeah, I don't like it.
It's
like he took. It was like Cedric Alexander's move and Eric Young's move had a baby.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, except Cedric's move looks like it hurts like a motherfucker. I would not want to take that.
I mean, online it is considered the best finisher in the WWE right now.
Cedric's gut check.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That is, or lumbar check. Is it lumbar check?
Yeah,
lumbar check. Yeah, that move is great because he will, and it's in a way it's a lot like an RKO because he can just make it out of nowhere. It's just all of a sudden, hey, you're going along, you're having this wrestling match, boom, oh, whoa, that came out of nowhere. But yeah, that's So we then had Sonya Deville. I forget what her old name was. Taking
Daria. I mean, her real name, Daria.
Yeah, Baronato. That was what.
Yeah, Baronato. I mean, it's her real name. So, now Sonya Deville. What do you think of her?
I think she has a ton of potential.
Yeah.
She looks like, I mean, she's scary. Her biggest problem right now is she's green. She has the presence. She looks like she'll F you up. I don't dig the hair thing. I know that's an MMA thing. I know, but I don't dig that. But I mean, yeah, she's pretty much got it all. And for the longest time, I kind of thought of the people who should beat Asuka. I'm like, it either needs to be Nikki Cross or Sonya Deville. Grant, Sonya needs a lot more seasoning, but if she gets to the point where she's just really kicking ass, she would be a good person to beat Asuka.
I don't think anybody should be Asuka, but
you could just have her show up. I mean, it could seriously. We could do my gimmick then Monday after Mania, or not after Mania, after SummerSlam. Alexa Bliss, I've beaten one. No one can beat me. Blah 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 blah. I'm the goddess. All this stuff, and then Asuka's music hits.
Yeah, it would have to be on SmackDown because it really doesn't play with Alexa Bliss, seeing as the person right next to her is the person she hasn't beat.
True.
Yeah, she would have to beat Nia Jax, then she could say that.
Well, other than she could say she and I are best friends because they're now playing that up on TV, aren't they?
They are. They
Okay.
are. And they are very much best friends if you follow any of their social media.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, you could just have Asuka show up, defeat whoever that champion is, and relinquish the title a la Paige. Or the only other thing I say is, and I kind of steal this idea from Solomonster on his show. He wanted whoever wins the women's tournament. Basically, he wanted the Kai. What's her name? Last name Sane. Her last name used to be Hojo. Kairi Sane. She's a fucking badass. His idea was she wins the tournament. She gets a shot at Asuka. She's the one that beats Asuka. Then Asuka heads over to the main roster. And I would be completely okay with that. But there would also be something cool about Asuka showing up and saying, I've never been beaten. But then again, I mean, Brock Lesnar's been beaten and it hasn't hurt his mystique. So she could show up having one defeat.
I mean, she can lose when she gets to the main roster. I just think it would be epic if you're going to continue it, don't give it to someone like Ember Moon.
No.
This chick has beaten Mickie James. This chick has beaten Bayley. This chick has beaten Nia Jax. She's beaten everybody on the main roster, and she's going to lose to the still very green Ember Moon.
Yeah, and I think WWE wants Ember Moon to be that next person, and she has a lot of potential because she is pretty darn good in the ring, but she should not be the one to beat Asuka. Not without some super shenanigans. I could see Nikki Cross being the one to finally do it because she's so crazy. And hell, in that last man standing match or last woman standing, Asuka barely won. So,
Asuka versus Charlotte, WrestleMania. Let's do it.
I agree. Speaking of Charlotte, her little sister was facing Sonya Deville. Jenna Van Bemmel. My God, looks like Charlotte. I can't remember if it was in our group or in another group. Someone posted her picture and was like, "Can someone get a DNA test? Because we know Nate was around many women. We think we might have Charlotte's sister here." My God, they look alike. But yeah, this was. I
was about to say, I honestly did not remember. I did not remember what she. Oh, okay.
Yeah, now you see it, right?
Yeah, they definitely look alike.
Deville won with a armbar out of nowhere. Not bad. We then had Hideo Itami. Oh, go ahead.
Jenna Van Bemmel goes by Jenna Van Muscles when she's not the WWE.
Yeah, I like that. She has a presence. She's definitely looks like she could F you up. This was not a great match by any stretch of the means. It wasn't awful, I thought.
Yeah, to me, that's what an NXT match is. With women, both of them trying to find their way. You can tell they never really worked together before. Maybe they have, maybe they haven't, but it didn't look like they worked together before, and they were kind of filling each other out.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, so this reminds me actually of something. When we were talking about who we would move where, I would send the iconic duo to either Raw or SmackDown. I think Billie Kay and Peyton Royce are more than ready.
If you're not going to put the belt on them, send them up.
Exactly. So I'd forgotten about that.
And they need to stay the iconic duo.
Oh my God, yes.
Together forever.
Yeah, they are fantastic together. And I think they're also best friends in real life. So, and it just, you can tell.
They went to high school together. That's how they've known each other.
And they worked with Emma back in the day in Australia.
That is true.
Yeah. So let's see. We had Hideo Itami. He was doing a backstage interview. He got mad, started speaking in Japanese, and he grabbed the microphone away from what's her name, headed out the ring, just kept screaming about how he deserves respect. The ring announcer was in there, that tall, kind of handsome guy. He was just standing there looking kind of awkward, and the poor ref's like, "Get out of here! That's enough, Hideo!" Doing the whole when they do the thing with their arms, where they start like with their arms crossed and they spread their arms apart. I'm not describing it very well. I'm doing it right here where I'm sitting. You can't see this, but I'm making the motion.
You're like John Cena.
Yeah. Yes. What then happened? Crap.
I feel like Otami's run with NXT is almost over. And, yeah, if you want to make money off of that name, I think that's a big enough name. And what does, if you brought him to 205 Live, and you're like him with Neville, oh, my God, I think that would add. Because I think Neville can work with anyone. But Tommy and Neville, oh, my God.
Oh yeah, that's actually, and it would have really helped had I been able to look at a list of the roster, and I didn't want to take forever Googling stuff and while we were sitting here talking. But yeah, Hideo Itami needs to go to 205 Live. There's nothing, absolutely nothing else for him to do in NXT, because they're not going to put the belt on him, obviously. And establishing him as a pissed off heel with a chip on his shoulder, and he could just show up on NXT and just, I mean not NXT, on 205 Live and just start mowing over fools. And I think that is another, he's a name that has recognition, and if they, take the reins off him a bit and let him be like old vicious Kenta, then that would add a lot to 205 Live. So if we brought in, real quick, going back to that, if you took the current 205 Live roster minus Cedric, because we both agree Cedric needs to go to NXT because he needs to be doing other things, but you bring in Johnny Gargano, you bring in Hideo Itami, you bring in Lucha dude, Rey Mysterio Jr., and you bring in Enzo Amore. That right there, those four guys, they could actually get crowds invested in that show. So yeah, I think that's a good idea. But so this Hideo's going off. Aleister Black comes out because he's had enough of it, and it's his match. And Black just laid him out with the kick. When I foresee that being a takeover match, I'm guessing, is going to be Black and Itami. And sign me up for that, yes please. I will enjoy that greatly. And then you mentioned NXT is like Ring of Honor with good production values. We had the debut of Kyle O'Reilly coming out, getting put over like crazy by
Nigel.
Thank you. And also, what was cool is this was the match. What's his name? The other Red Dragon guy.
Bobby Fish.
Thank you. Bobby Fish's match with Aleister Black was really competitive, and it was up to that point was probably the most competitive match Black's had. This was easily Black's most competitive match. I mean, there was a lot of back and forth. He kind of barely won, and there was shows of respect in the match that you haven't seen Black do yet, and I thought that was cool.
His whole sit down gimmick is still the coolest thing ever to me.
Yeah, that is great.
He kicks you and then just sits, goes straight into that cross leg thing. I just think it's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, when he did that to Itami, that was so good, and that kick looks so devastating. It just looks like it takes your freaking head off. This match started off, I thought, was kind of slow. It was pretty sloppy in parts, but man, that end stretch was so great. Lots of fun. Great. I thought even though he lost, it was a really, really good debut for Kyle O'Reilly. And here's to hoping that Red Dragon is put together. And
I'm imagining it's going to happen at the Dusty Classic.
When is that happening?
It's usually like within the next month or so. Like it leads into the Survivor Series, like the end, whatever. The takeover before Survivor Series or the fourth quarter takeover. That's what it usually leads into.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely. And you know what? I think Red Dragon winning the Dusty Classic would be a great idea. And you could set them up as challengers for Authors of Pain, maybe.
Because, they've held tag team belts all over the world. You can build it that way. Let's see. One ended on October 7th. the one with Finn Balor or when Takeover Respect. The other one ended November 19th, and it looks like this one's going to end on November 18th. They actually already have that date on here, is that it's going to end on November 18th. And live from the Toyota Center in Houston, Texas, Floyd Johnson will be there. You know, they
awesome.
got, you know, he'll be there. Because, you know, it's Houston. It's around the corner, man. That's how I feel in my brain. It's like, it's just around the corner.
Yeah, that is true. It is.
Aleister Black and Kyle O'Reilly. Very entertaining match, and it was a Kyle O'Reilly type of match. It looks like it was a match with more of an MMA influence. There was a lot of striking. Yeah, I mean, they both wrestled. They both were pretty stiff in the match, and I liked it. I would have liked to see Kyle O'Reilly kind of get his finisher in, and Aleister Black kind of escape it or something like that. That would have been cool. But I thought the match did what it was supposed to do, was establish Kyle O'Reilly as a threat in NXT. I want to get a little Red Dragon. I would like to see Red Dragon have a 6-month run, and then, you know, Kyle O'Reilly is a singles wrestler. I'm hoping with his time in the Performance Center, not having to travel as much, he can get his nutrition right and tighten up his physique a little bit.
The one thing I thought watching this is Kyle O'Reilly's ring mannerisms were a little weird. I mean, he's always been a little kind of a weird cat, but he was a little over-exaggerated, and I don't know how much of that was just nerves or what. It just seemed... Because I was thinking... Because really the last thing I really remember seeing him in was Wrestle Kingdom. And so that versus this, it was like... His mannerisms are kind of weird. But there was something I mentioned earlier that... about feuds carrying over. We were talking about Gargano then heading over to 205 Live. You know, I really hope that if it happens soon and we get Adam Cole showing up in NXT, eventually they're going to have an Adam Cole Kyle O'Reilly. It's going to have to happen, and because that blood feud, that's one of those feuds that never die.
Adam Cole, baby.
Oh, I can't wait. Cannot wait. But yeah, I thought this was a very enjoyable NXT.
Yeah, I think Triple H can wait to get his hands on Adam Cole, even if it's only for like a year. Just like he gets to do what he wants to do with that. Adam Cole versus Drew McIntyre feud. Oh God, that would be everything to me.
Oh yeah, that'd be good stuff. That would be super good
it's
stuff.
like the feuds I haven't seen are what I'm really into. Like, Drew McIntyre, Bobby Roode was kind of leaving TNA when Drew Galloway debuted, so we never really got a Bobby Roode and Drew McIntyre on TV type of thing. So this rivalry's good. I hope they don't just do it where McIntyre automatically just wins at the takeover. I would like to see, if he's that threat, I'd like to see Bobby Roode retain in some type of horrible type of, and then set up that match again at Houston.
Yeah, I would. I'm the same way. I think it'd be best if that was a.
I just don't want him to come in and then 4 months later be champion.
Agreed.
That's only Kevin Owens. Only Kevin Owens can do that.
Yeah.
And actually, he won it after only a month, 30 days from the day he debuted.
Yeah, exactly. So that was the shows of the week, and we had one other topic we wanted to talk about, and this was brought in the Facebook group, the club, which we'd love to have you guys join. Head over to Facebook, search the club, and you put in a request to join it. It's one of the, I would say, the best wrestling group out there on Facebook because it's respectful and people aren't assholes.
I literally will kick you out if you attack someone. That is not a warning. That is not a threat. That is just the way it is. I don't like that idea of the internet, that if you have a differing opinion, that people tend to attack you instead of attacking the subject or the opinion.
Agreed, wholeheartedly.
Yeah. So I was just gonna interest them because I brought it up. This is gonna release our top 5 this week, and we have a person on the club. Her name is Lindsay, and she was really, really hitting it with the amazing topics she had this week. And this one was a topic that made me think. I thought for hours about this, so much so that I had to bring Dave in on it. And she's like, take 3 moments from your life as a wrestling fan. And what you're doing is you're telling someone that doesn't like wrestling, and you say, hey, these 3 moments, this is why I am a wrestling fan. And me, as a wrestling fan since birth, I mean, I don't remember a time where wrestling was not a part of my life, that type of thing. Narrowing it down to 3 was kind of tough. And I think Dave's pretty much been a wrestling fan. I know he took a break there, but he's been a wrestling fan the same amount of time as I have. So I know narrowing it down to 3 would be tough for you. So I like to do a little back and forth here, because mine is at the beginning of my life, the middle, and the end. So do you have a moment that represents it for you?
Yeah, I was thinking about this, and to some extent, I almost have to say WrestleMania 2, and that's because that was kind of the event that I remember just watching, and what really kind of engrossed me as a fan, which kind of got me. But if I'm going to pick, so if I'm going to, and we're going to do, I'll go with you. I'll do like early, and then mid, and then more recent. So an early memory would either be going to be a tie, Ricky Steamboat versus Hercules Hernandez at WrestleMania 2, and Ricky Steamboat versus Randy Savage at WrestleMania 3. I think those would be my 2 kind of top ties for when I was young, as the 2 moments that I really look back and go, yeah, well. So yeah, that would be my first one.
Yeah, you know what? That's a great one. My first wrestling memory, and I don't actually remember when the match happened, but I know it was like I was 3 or 4 when it happened. Kerry Von Erich versus Ric Flair. It was like a big show in Texas. His brother, he took his brother's David's position in that match, and Kerry Von Erich beat Ric Flair with a backslide. It's one of my first memories in wrestling. The reason this memory is so significant, other than it being my first, I was watching when they were replaying the match, because of course we didn't get the actual show. We got the replay of the show later, and we watched the replay of that match with my brother Kenneth. He's the reason I'm a wrestling fan. I mean, he discovered wrestling. He said he discovered wrestling around 8 or 9. I am 9 years younger than him. He's the reason I'm a wrestling fan. So that first match, it represented Ric Flair, probably the biggest influence in my life as a wrestling fan. Kerry Von Erich, at that time, he was my favorite wrestler, modern day warrior, Kerry Von Erich. And then the person that got me into wrestling, and if you want to think about it as he would be my Jesus of wrestling, my brother Kenneth.
Nice.
All right,
and that was a great match. I remember watching that. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, it was a great match, and it was like I tell people this, and it's like, people talk to me all the time about just wrestling in general, and everybody's talking about finishers and everything. Understand, world title matches rarely, if ever, finish with someone hitting their finisher back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
Always a roll-up or a backslide or something like that. It was always a caught-off-guard moment.
Yeah, that is true. So my second, and it's funny saying this is my second, kind of my middle. Oh, man. Picking 3 is... That's what's hard. So the first thing that comes to mind for me is... If I'm picking 3, is the first Clash of the Champions, Ric Flair and Sting, ending in that draw. That was incredible. And I love that match. I love Sting, he is one of, if not possibly my favorite wrestler of all time. Well, no, I'm sorry. Arn Anderson is my favorite. He's like my second favorite. And so that was awesome. If I'm going to pick a tie or something that's close to that from this time frame, it would probably be it would probably be when Lex Luger beat Hulk Hogan during the NWO era on that Monday Nitro episode, and that was amazing. People lost their minds. So trying to get this down to 3 is damn near impossible.
All right, my number 2 would be March 31st, 1996. My favorite match of all time, WrestleMania 12 main event, Shawn Michaels versus Hart. That was the first time in wrestling I'd really seen a person go from curtain jerker, small tag team, to world heavyweight champion. That was the first time to WWF champion. And I felt like I followed the whole life of Shawn Michaels. I saw him on AWA. I saw him do a little extent, the Midnight Rockers, and a little extent in World Class. I actually saw them when they debuted in the WWF, got fired, and then came back to the WWF. So I am all about the HBK. He's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. I honestly think the greatest in-ring performer ever, as far as WWF is concerned. That match with just Bret Hart with me, that was the last of my childhood matches, where matches would go an hour and they wouldn't have a winner, and then in this case they had overtime because it was WrestleMania. We're not going to have a draw, and Shawn Michaels hit Sweet Chin music to finish to end that match, and it was like a moment. It was like, I remember very much crying at the end of that match. And then I remember my friend Willie Gilbert, I invited him over my house and we watched that match in its entirety again. It is the match that I have watched most of my life from beginning to the end. If I wanted to go a 2B as far as that same period of time, it would be the Bash at the Beach when Hogan turned heel.
That's a good one. And that made me think thinking of that era. Another that I just loved was that moment. It was on Nitro. Chris Benoit had just had this best of 7 series against Booker T to see who would challenge some random dude for the TV title, and he had lost to Booker T. Booker T then won the TV title, and that next pay-per-view the night before, and then that night on Nitro, Benoit fought the guy who was the former champion and just beat him really quickly. And when he was coming into the ring, Bischoff and Bret Hart were sitting holding an NWO black and white T-shirt. And after the match, there was some confrontation. He said some kind things to Booker T. And then Booker T's brother came out, and there was some back and forth. Mongo McMichael comes out to make a save, and Chris Benoit got on the mic and said, I'm not here for NWO Red. I'm not here for NWO White. What I'm here for, and he holds up the 4 horseman fingers, and that just gave me chills. And still thinking about it to this day, I love that moment. So that would be another. God, I've got too many from that era. That's good stuff. So and now, as far as modern is concerned, the moment that got me back interested in wrestling, or what got me back interested in really watching wrestling again, was The Rock coming back to challenge CM Punk. And that's what got me watching again. But it was really Daniel Bryan that really pulled me in. So I think probably WrestleMania 30, where he finally won the title. That was incredible, I thought. It's either that or Sami Zayn winning the NXT Championship. So those are probably the Daniel Bryan one.
That's my answer. My 3 is Yeselman. I used that one because it was my return to WrestleMania. I hadn't been to WrestleMania since 20, So I went back to 30, and the moments from that night, Hogan coming out at the beginning of the show, Bray Wyatt's entrance, and the reaction to Daniel Bryan winning the title, probably the three. The Bray Wyatt thing's the coolest thing I'd ever seen, because that was right when they had just started with the Firefly thing. Like, I mean, it wasn't just started, but the Firefly thing was kind of at its height. So to see 60-something thousand people with the lights on, like everybody in that building had their light on their phone, and it was just crazy and creepy, and it was awesome. And then Hogan's reaction, oh my God, that place shook when Hogan walked through that door, and it's just the power of Hulk Hogan. I tell anybody, if you don't believe in the Hulk Hogan, you don't think it's a thing, you're confused. When that entrance, that pop when he comes out, it's just deafening. And then when Daniel Bryan won the title that night, it was just one of those moments. I mean, I can honestly say, if you want to go a moment, WrestleMania 30 in general, as that whole show, is why I am a wrestling fan. The whole idea of Brock Lesnar ending the streak, that whole thing where Bray Wyatt he wrestled John Cena, and he was way more over than John Cena that night. And, John Cena won, and everybody hated it, and it was just a great show. As far as, it was a great one. It was a great WrestleMania to go back to. Yeah, I honestly can say, if I probably went to WrestleMania 28 or 29, my WrestleMania streak probably would have ended after those shows, because those weren't very good WrestleManias. It's just the WrestleMania I went back to was probably in my top. It was in my top 3 WrestleManias, period.
Oh yeah, that's a great show. That was a.
I don't know. And like I said, 12, I love the end, but from beginning to the end, I don't think there was a better show than 30.
Yeah. And that opening, you're right, that opening segment with Hogan coming out and then botching the name of the arena, which was hilarious, and then The Rock coming out, and then, or no, it was Stone Cold. Who came out next, Stone Cold or The Rock?
The Rock. Stone Cold was last.
Yeah. And the back and forth that they had, and that was because, I mean, you think about, those are the 3. I mean, if you think about who are the biggest names ever in WWE history, there 5 names I think come to mind: Bruno Sammartino, Hulk Hogan, Steve Austin, The Rock, and John Cena. Mm-hmm. If you made a Mount Rushmore, you'd have to stick a 5th face on there. It's those 5 guys for WWE, and so having 3 of those 5 guys in the ring at the same time, and if I'm not mistaken, Bruno was actually in attendance that night, and John Cena was there, so you literally had the 5 biggest stars that company ever produced in the same building at the same time. That's craziness.
Not to say, and The Undertaker was there.
Yep.
So, I mean, if you weren't to say a 6, if you say The Undertaker, almost everyone knows you're talking about the wrestler, The Undertaker.
Yeah. So that was a great question. It was Lindsay who posed that, right?
Yeah, and it was just like a great question, because I am a very black and white person, so generally if you have a question, I pretty much have an immediate answer. I had to think for a while on that answer. Like when I say WrestleMania, it was just such a big one. I was like, yeah, if you ask me another time, that answer as far as the recent history could be the pipe bomb. It could be that. It could be CM Punk finally beating John Cena and then taking the belt with him. I thought that was a cool moment. I mean, I could come up with 100 moments, but what I tried to do was stick with the moments that really drew out the reactions that I'd never expect. The whole thing with Daniel Bryan, it's kind of cool, because my number 2 is Shawn Michaels, right? And then my number 3 is Daniel Bryan, who was trained by Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
Now, is it just me, since you mentioned CM Punk when he won the title and he left, did they really miss an opportunity with not working out some deals with like New Japan and Ring of Honor to let him show up at some other events.
He showed up at some local indie shows with his belt, and I thought that was pretty cool, especially since one was in Chicago, and it was like a friend of his, and he really, got them over, type of thing. But no, see, to me, it didn't hurt or miss an opportunity. I mean, for us, the wrestling fan, yes, but as far as the business opportunity, just showing up at a couple local shows drove home the point that he had taken the belt away. But yeah, New Japan doesn't have Ring of Honor and New Japan want to be seen as second-tier organizations, so that is why they didn't do it.
That's true. Good point. Though I will say they really did miss an opportunity with Heath Slater when he was doing his trying to find his home.
Yes, they did that one. I felt like they missed the same opportunity with Elias Sampson when he was drifting. I felt like he should have drifted through every show.
He'd drift him just through 205 Live for no reason.
Yeah, just playing his guitar and just drifted every show. I felt like that would have just really, I thought that should have went on for a few months, that him just drifted through every show. Yeah. Silent waiting, and before he decides on Raw as his home.
Yeah, I also would have with Heath Slater. I would have had him show up in both NXT, and I would have had him go to an Evolve show. My whole thing with Titus O'Neil, I've been making the argument for starting that crosses most shows, and I'm thinking Titus O'Neil in the Titus Worldwide brand could be something that does it. So I don't know. I hope the WWE does something. I hope they just think outside the box. I don't know what'll cause it or stimulate. I just hope. I'm an optimistic person, so I'm just hoping that I don't want to think that it's gonna. I don't like to think that it would take Vince's death for them to do anything different. Yeah. Well, we have anything else before we get out of here?
Oh, we covered a lot today. God, welcome back, dude. It's not the same without you. You are our moderator, our sound guy, our editor. You prove anything. I show up and talk.
I enjoy it. So this is it's been a lot of fun being back, and I missed this. So I missed doing this. So I'm looking forward to being back next week. And is it possible we're going to have a third voice on the booth next week?
Daniel Rube, he was supposed to be on this week, but he started a new job this week. So, with starting a new job, it was very much an adjustment. He didn't get to watch any wrestling. So he only wants to come in when he can be at 100%. So next week he's going to make sure he watches the shows, and he's going to join us for our SummerSlam and TakeOver previews.
Excellent. Well, that'll do it for this week for Around the Ring. We appreciate everyone listening. And again, don't forget to hit us up on Twitter. Join the Facebook group because it's an awesome group, and you can find the show all over. Subscribe, and if you use the iTunes or Stitcher, please leave a rating and review of the show on those. That would be pretty awesome. We appreciate it. And now, Floyd, I do have a question for you. This is real important. I've been waiting 2 weeks to ask you this. Is life a work?
Well, through my travels and my many, many years as a wrestling fan, I've come through that conclusion. But I'm going to pause and say we were waiting on this exciting moment every week. Will Floyd mess up his own catchphrase? So I'm going to take the little period of time to remind you, life is a work. Don't forget to kick out at 2. We will see you next time Around the Ring.
Drummer get wicked.